cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
What is up, everybody? So let's hope we can get another 350 people in chat. I thought I would bring the puppers on. Thank you, Stephanie, for becoming a new member. Jody, earlier I didn't get to tell you, but keeping eyes peeled. So as people roll in, what's going down? I got the puppers here that doesn't want to sit. She wants to play. You see her? She's like, hey, Mom, I want to do something. I don't want to sit here. What are you doing? What are you doing to me, Mom? So, all right, everybody, we're back. Now we are talking about how to spot predators. I added an S to it because it was how to spot a predator, but we're going to analyze Jenn Soto, Stephan STERNS. We're going to talk about tides turning. And I have a clip of Court TV and some analysts. So as you all roll in, hit that like button. I'll say hi to everybody. Melly says so cute. Jed Brick, Gen X, smaller than my kitty. Yeah, she's about 2 pounds, folks. We're all back. You can email me at guiltyofcrime@gmail.com. I want you to see this one's face. She doesn't want to be on camera, I think, right now. But look at those little eyes. She doesn't want to be on camera. Come on, baby. There you go. There you go. Look at. There you go. Yeah, you can't. You don't want to show your face, do you? All right. All right. As you guys roll in, hit that like button if you didn't. She's a cutie pie, but she definitely is full of energy. All right. You can sit here if you want for a little bit. All right. They'll post that in chat. Let's get started on what we're talking about today. We have a big show, 2 lives in a day. Cinder, I also put out another video. I had to clip it out. I want Rebecca Michello, Corey Michello's grandma, to be able to write her book, and I want her to have that support that she needs to write the book. And I want Bree Michello to have the support, and the whole family to have the support of all of you. So I wanted to make sure I cut out just her talking. All right. So actually, it's my 3rd video today. That took some time. So thank you so much. I feel like we were just talking. Yes, Cheryl, we were just talking. You guys are adorable. I love each and every single one of you. We are live, Rose O. We're live right now. Zombie Hunter, I don't know if you are a troll, but hey, thanks for letting us know that. Even if you're a troll, you can still hit that like button. Don't forget to support the channel. What's up, Pat Sanford? And I am not a cat either. So anything you could do, if you want to gift memberships or super chats, super stickers as we go, if you can, do it. If you can't, don't. No big deal. It is what it is. And it's fan funded. I upgraded some more things today, so I'm able to do better things. Okay, good. I'm glad you're not a troll, Zombie Hunter News Network. It was just funny what you said. All right, and we can talk about farting on Jenn Soto's head as we go, because today we're roasting her. Right now we are going to do Deception Detective, not only Deception Detective style, but we're doing Deception Detective period. And then we're going to do a news clip in between of how tides are turning. It's really interesting how the tides have turned with the analysts of Court TV. They seem to be doubting themselves. But in between them doubting themselves, folks, I'm going to show you that there's no doubt that Jenn Soto didn't show up for her daughter's birthday, didn't show up for her daughter's funeral, didn't show up for her daughter's vigil, didn't show up to her memorial. And she didn't show up for her daughter to make sure she was taken care of. Brenda Pavey, I appreciate everything you do. Thank you. Thank you. And I want you to know that everything that I get funded goes right back into the channel and right back to support everything that I do, my time. If I'm not working, then I'm working here. So yeah, I want you to see yours truly. You're going to see after this video. I'm going to show you it's interesting. A month ago, what they were talking about, and now what their scenario is. And I wonder where they got that from. I want to tell you, a lot of people don't like Gray, but he is on Court TV a lot. He was just on Court TV the other day. It's very interesting. All right, let's get into this. Jenn, worst Mother of the Year award. Absolutely. Everybody will agree with that. And if she doesn't get arrested, we're always going to have a hole in our hearts that just isn't complete. It doesn't feel right. But I'm not doubting myself at all. So let's start this video. Jenn Soto makes it into this video, and then we're going to listen to the Court TV narrative. It's a quick 8-minute video. That's quick around here. And then we're going to do the analyzing Jenn Soto that you've never seen before, hopefully. But you never seen it before with me, because now I have two experts. I have Deception Detective and Mr. Strategic. So I love my community.
Doesn't realize it yet, but Stephan hasn't said Madeline Soto's name once, and we're halfway through this interview. This extreme distancing is the second biggest red flag for abuse so far in the interview. As I mentioned earlier, predators don't like to use their victims' names because psychologically they want to distance themselves from what they've done to them, and it helps to dehumanize them. Can you tell if someone's a child predator by the words they use? I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis. This channel exposes lies and manipulation.
And we all know DD. We know we love him. Hopefully he'll pop in. I also want you to know, Jenn Soto didn't use Madeline's name until the lady that was interviewing her called her Madeline, and she corrected her with Madeline. Now, I don't know if she did that on purpose or she actually was just trying to get her to say her name, because she never said her freaking name.
Today's video will analyze Stephan Stern's first interview with detectives for clues that he is a child predator. Here's a quick recap of the case. On February 26th, Madeline Soto was reported missing. Her mother, Jenn Soto, and Jenn's boyfriend, Stephan Sterns, said they dropped her off at school that morning and hadn't seen her since. The next day, police interviewed Stephan and seized his phone. That's the interview we're going to analyze today. On the 28th, Stephan was arrested after lewd images were found of him with Madeline via his phone. Her remains were also discovered with evidence linking him to her murder. He's currently awaiting trial. Without further ado, let's listen.
You already spoke to the other detective, right, about everything that kind of happened today. If you can just kind of go over it with us one more time, the timeline from like when you guys woke up and took her to school and all that.
So we woke up early. The plan was that we were going to get McDonald's breakfast on the way, so we made amazingly good time.
I don't mean to interrupt you, okay? Neither of us were here yesterday, so if you can be kind of like...
Yeah, they're trying to get more out of him. They're already suspicious. Yeah, we're talking about Stephan Sterns right now. We're going to flip to Jennifer Soto and then back to Stephan Sterns, and then all eyes on Jennifer Soto. We're not going to forget about her. We're not going to change our narrative. Susan Travers, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Jay, how do I gift a membership? Well, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little $sign where you did that. You just hover over the $sign and it will say gift membership, and it will let you do that. So thank you so much. You guys are amazing. All right, let's go. We got a big show today, and you guys are going to be angry by the end of it. Angry in a good way. I don't want you to be angry in a bad way. I want you to get it all out. Let's get it all out together. Let's do it.
Specific about like times and stuff like that, okay?
I've already made a video explaining how Stephan's vagueness is a sign that he's lying, so I won't belabor that point here. Instead, let's focus in this video on what he's most vague about. Remember, the detective asked him for a detailed account of that morning, from waking up to dropping Madeline off at school. And what did he do? After saying they woke up early, which is already extremely vague and unhelpful, he skipped immediately to being in the car on the way to McDonald's. In other words, he skipped over everything that happened inside the home that morning. When parents of missing children are evasive about their home life, we must be on high alert for abuse. And that's because most abuse happens inside the home. In this case, it's even more concerning because Stephan wasn't her biological father. He was an unrelated adult male being evasive about time he spent alone in a house with a minor. Thankfully, the detective picked up on this, so she rephrases the question. When I hit play, pay attention to Stephan's response.
So we woke up early. The plan was that we were going to get McDonald's breakfast on the way, so we made amazingly good time.
I don't mean to interrupt you, okay? Neither of us were here yesterday, so if you can be kind of like specific about like times and stuff like that, okay?
Woke up around 7:15, somewhere around there, which is an early start for us, but we had talked about getting McDonald's breakfast beforehand, so we want to make good time. We did make good time. We got out the door maybe 7:30, 7:45-ish, maybe.
Now, remember, we're doing a video on how to spot predators. Jenn Soto tells the same story over and over and over. It's very scripted. So when we're looking to spot predators, we're also looking at Jenn Soto. When we're listening to his narrative, her narrative is the exact same narrative as his. All right? Yeah, where is that bitch? She probably fled the country. No, she's here. She's here. She's here, and we're watching.
Got over to that area.
Stephan's a bit more detailed here. They woke up between 7 and 7:15, and they were out the door between 7:30 and 7:45. What's the problem? He's still skipping over everything that happened in between. By his own estimate, that's 45 minutes alone inside the house, unaccounted for. If your spidey senses weren't tingling before, they should be now. And many of the members of the DD forum picked up on this. YouTube channel members also picked up on his vague timeline. As I said before, the vagueness is a sign of a scripted story.
And Jenn has the same vagueness. 11 o'clock, she sent her to bed with Stephan STERNS and doesn't remember anything until the next day. She saw her at 8:30, 8:15 in the morning. End of story. Doesn't know where her friends are. Madeline doesn't have friends. Doesn't know how to get home. And end of story. Now, Gray Hughes, just so you know, timelines and mapping, it's called Google Earth. That's all it is Google Earth. I don't do that because True Crime Grizzly is the queen. Grizzly True Crime Gizela is the queen of map time. So I don't even need to do that. I just go check out her maps. What we're talking about here is called Google Earth. That's all it is Google freaking Earth. You might as well use MapQuest, sir. All right.
But it could also suggest abuse. And here's why. If I asked you how long it took you to get your kids ready for school last Friday, you could probably give me a fairly accurate estimate based on what time your alarm is set to go off to what time school starts and they have to be dropped off. And if you can't do that, it's probably because something unusual happened that morning. If I were interviewing Stephan, at this point, I'd be wondering, what could he and Madeline possibly have been doing inside that house to make it so hard to estimate the time frame? They were either out the door in 15 minutes or 45 minutes. Of course, we now know what was going on. He was loading Madeline's dead body into the car to drive it to the dump site.
Where was Jenn?
As we listen on, pay attention to how that seeps through in his language. Does he describe Madeline as a hyperactive, energized girl, the way they describe her in other interviews? Or do his descriptions more closely match an actual dead body?
Got out the door maybe 7:30 or 7:45-ish, maybe. Got over to that area. She was asleep in the car most of the time, just snoozing until we got there. We got to McDonald's. We're close to McDonald's. I said, "You still want it?" Wasn't interested in McDonald's anymore, so we continued on. And she wanted to be dropped off a little down the ways from the school. She's got this phase that she's been into lately where she's very particular about what car she's seen getting out of the school. She prefers her mom's car, but my cars are, I guess, kind of hoopties. I get it. It's an image thing. But
who is she? So far, Stephan hasn't said Madeline's name once. And we've seen this often on the channel with violent criminals and their victims like O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown, or Chris Watts and his family, or Casey Anthony and Kaylee. The phenomenon is known as distancing, and it basically occurs when the guilty party psychologically distances themselves from their victim to such a degree that they end up not even using their name. And the result is awkward sentences like this.
We got to McDonald's. We're close to McDonald's. I said, "You still want it?" Wasn't interested in the McDonald's anymore. So,
in fact, that's not the only sign we have here that Stephan had psychologically reduced Madeline to something that doesn't even deserve a name.
Right.
You see, parents of actual missing children blame themselves for not being more.
Now, pay attention to this because I have a purpose for playing this and then playing the clip of the news narrative and then playing Jenn Soto. I have a purpose and I always have a reason why I do my shows. It's not just, I don't just pick things out of a hat. I always have it right here on how I'm going to translate that to you as an audience. Yeah, Christine, she was so zonked out on Xanax, she forgot about taking a 3 a.m. drive, or he forgot about taking a 3 a.m. drive. And why did the dogs hit on her car? Exactly. We don't know that he was driving that. And if Stephan STERNS was driving that car, they would have told us already, in my opinion. Allison Dunnigan, I would like to talk to you on the phone about my son. Send me a message. I'll give you my Google Voice number. Yeah, there's a reason. So pay attention. Everything he's saying is going to translate over to Jenn Soto. Everything. Because remember, they have a scripted narrative, and their scripted narrative is exactly the same. So when you're saying, Stephan STERNS, but I don't know about Jenn, they're saying the same damn things.
Oh. Protective or more careful in allowing something terrible to happen to their kid, even if there's nothing more they could have done. Abusers, on the other hand, do the opposite. They blame the child for whatever atrocities happen to them, probably because it makes it easier to rationalize the abuse. Throughout all his interviews, Stephan blames Madeline for what happened to her. Even in his own hypothetical scripted scenario of her getting kidnapped or running away, he did not drop her off at the front door of the school, but it was her fault for being embarrassed of his car. As I pointed out in my first video about this case,
with ugly potato face. Now, I want to talk about this a bit. He was trying to implicate her. Actually, his parents are trying to implicate her, and I believe it came from his father. He was there the day they were in the hotel, and in my opinion, he heard more than he should have between the two. Now, I don't think Jenn was trying to say goodbye, but Jenn did know that spot because that was on the way to her old house. So if it was Jenn Soto in that car, and they do find out that it was Jenn Soto, it was her making sure that she was hidden enough to be out of sight where people wouldn't just drive by and see it. I shouldn't say it. See Madeline Soto. That's what they call Madeline, is it, and they do not refer to her at all. So same thing goes for Jenn Soto as Stephan STERNS.
Madeline's mother, Jenn, does the same thing in her interviews, which is one reason among many that I think she's complicit, even if the rest of the world thinks she's innocent. But the Overton window has shifted so far with her. She has degraded her daughter so far in her mind that she doesn't realize that all she's done is blame her daughter and belittle her. Even in a public interview that she knows is being shown all over the news, she cannot help but belittle her daughter. And she has ADHD. She's forgetful. She forgot her phone. She wanted to walk to school. She got kidnapped. It's her fault, not me.
What do you think about that, folks? And you all know, you've seen the same thing happening. She is degrading her daughter. She has it every point. She doesn't use her name until she corrects. What's up, Mr. Strategic? Working, but had to stop by and show love. Great channel, doing God's work. Absolutely. And we're doing it together. I'm going to show some of your clips at the end. And we're going to do the analyzing of Jenn Soto in the words of the most passionate man I personally know. Well, I've met you in person, but Mr. Strategic in the house. Thank you, and be safe when you're doing your job today, please. All right.
She's 13 years old. She's old enough. She should know not to get kidnapped, which is sick. These people should be afraid.
We got to McDonald's. We're close to
Jenn
McDonald's.
is
I said we
afraid.
still want it. Wasn't interested in the McDonald's anymore, so we continued on. And she wanted to be dropped off a little down the ways from the school. She's got this phase that she's been into lately where she's very particular about what car she's seen getting out of from the school. She prefers her mom's car, but my cars are, I guess, kind of hoopties. I get it. It's an image thing. But that was sometime probably between 8:20 and 8:40-ish, somewhere in there. It was along the stretch of the road that on the right side that has all the communities on it. Before you get to the overpass. You could see the overpass from where it was. So it was on that side, on that stretch of road. And that's where I dropped her off. She said she was going to go wait for her friends. She was going to go find them and hang out and wait for her friends. And I asked if that was going to be okay. She said, yeah, it's fine. Kids get dropped off early enough as it is, so it's not totally unusual for that to happen. It's just not usually that early that I drop her off. I do school runs every once in a while for her. I said, okay.
While we're talking still kind of about dropping off Maddie in the car, her not wanting to be seen in the hoopty, etc., I want you to know that nowhere in any paperwork ever does it say at any time that Stephan STERNS has ever used Jenn Soto's car. So I want you to know that when you think about who was driving that car, the probability is a lot higher that Stephan STERNS wasn't driving Jenn's car and it was Jenn driving Jenn's car. Again, we don't know. I don't know if they have cameras. Obviously, if they do and they know and they have more, you still can't charge somebody for going over there. They want a tight case, but they have not said that Stephan STERNS was in the second car. And this can't be a Chris Watts thing where he's sentenced in the mistress because she's more culpable than a mistress. Yeah, what a hoopty he talks about. So I just want you to know that nowhere ever does it say that Jenn let Stephan drive the car ever. And they had 3 cars. She had 2. He had 1 hoopty. And he could have used Jenn's car and said, I used Jenn's car because it's not a hoopty. It's 2022. Yeah, I believe Jenn was driving that car too. I believe they're still trying to build the case and it's not over. It's not even close.
You're out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too.
When liars make up stories, they're omniscient narrators. They can plant whatever thought they need to into whoever's head they need to in order to make their narrative work. However, they often fail to consider the second order effects of that. Like, how would those people have articulated those ideas to them in words? That's why the exchange between Stephan and Madeline I replayed earlier was so awkward. That whole segment of Stephan's story was so poorly thought out that even he couldn't bring himself to say, she said. He just dropped the designator completely. This is also why it's unclear who said, I love you, and who said, thanks, I love you too. Stephan obviously scripted this dialogue into his story, but he didn't go the extra step of actually assigning lines to his mental actors. And that begs the question, why include this line of dialogue in the story at all? The fact that he felt the need to say that he and Madeline said they love each other and scripted that into the story when he left so many other things out suggests to me that either Madeline hated him or he hated Madeline or both.
I think at one point it was both, folks. I think she outgrew him. I think some of the things he say are verbal leakage. I think when he says, do you want it? And she says, no, sounds like verbal leakage. I can't get it out of my head. The things that must have went on with their conversations. Remember in one of the pictures I showed you where Maddie was taller and prettier and she was growing to be a woman bigger and taller than Jenn? Think about that. And Stephan STERNS had a full-on, not a relationship, not a healthy relationship, but he was in a sexual relationship, an inappropriate one at that. But he had done that for years and he had groomed her. He had played toys with her all the way up until whatever else he was doing to keep her texting him all day, folks. She was texting him all day long. Her friend said that. Her friend said that she would text him and they talked on the phone a lot. So it was a disgusting relationship, but nonetheless there was a relationship. And I thought that too. I thought maybe they changed her clothes since Jenn insisted on the black shorts and he insisted on the jean shorts. Something in that's not right. And the clothing discrepancy, Davey says, might come from Maddie being exactly and then being dressed. Disgusting person. Absolutely. I want to also thank Madeline Marriott sent me a $10 cash app. Thank you so much. And Darlene, if you're on here, last time you sent me the $20 one, I appreciate that so much. I didn't feel good yesterday at all. Last night and today I wasn't feeling well, so I used that for Starbucks this morning. So thank you. I appreciate that. Let's keep going. We got a big show today, folks, and a lot of things are going to click with you as we go through this.
And I'll explain why that's the case the next time I pause.
Let her out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too. And I turned around and was driving away and was watching her in my rearview mirror to make sure that she was going where she was to go. And she was moving in that direction, but she was rummaging around in her backpack or something. And I assumed it was probably headphones or something like that. But I found out later that she forgot her phone here, so she may be rummaging for her phone. But she was still kind of making her way towards that direction, so it looked okay. It looked like any other day. And I just continued on.
After you dropped her off, what did you do?
Stayed, talked to her for a minute, made sure, is it all right that you're going early? Because it was still early.
Mm-hmm.
She said, yeah, it's fine. I'm going to hang out and wait for my friends to get there, which she does sometimes, so it didn't sound outrageous or anything. That was it. Told her to have a good day. I loved her. She told me she loved me too. I turned around to leave.
I can already feel longtime viewers typing the comments, hey, DD, this is a sign of deception. Hey, DD, this is a sign of scripting. And there are many things here that I'm not pointing out simply because I've pointed out all the signs of scripting and deception in other videos. Remember, the focus of this one is, can we tell if he's a predator simply from what he says in the interview? So please do comment all those signs of deception that you're catching so other people new to the channel can see them. For now, what I want to point out is loving parents don't feel the need to tell police that they love their children. It's taken for granted. While it might seem counterintuitive, the more someone tries to convince people that they love their children, or worse, that their children love them, the more we need to be on guard that there's abuse or neglect in the relationship. And the same principle applies to virtue signalers or couples who post too much lovey-dovey stuff online. They're often projecting their secret guilts and insecurities. Because Stephan felt the need to rewatch.
Hence, Chris Watts. Everybody thought it was such a loving, beautiful couple. And, oh, I can't believe he's such a great man. He snapped. No, he wasn't. There was a lot behind the scenes. Marsha, $2 super sticker. Thank you so much. And every single one of you, thank you so very much. You're keeping my channel going. I really truly didn't realize the cost that it would be as I got going and to make the channel look high def. Thank you so much. Charity sent $20 for a cash app. Thank you. And Adam Drives Helen, by the way, go check out his channel. Sent me a $5 cash app. I'll drop his handle down there. So people that try to portray a certain way, especially when you can tell, we all have spidey senses, right? We all have intuition and we don't always hone in on them. And I want you to hone in on them with me here. Yeah, fake people are my pet peeve too. This makes my skin crawl knowing what we know now. Absolutely. But I want your skin to crawl when we see Jenn Soto next, because we're going to know probably soon a lot more than we do. Maybe the ballerina case. Can't remember. Yeah, I know you're talking about the ballerina case. That's all I can say. I can't remember. It's like the black swan. I forgot. Anyway, love you too, Adam. You're amazing. I love chilling out with you. All right, I'll put your channel in a second.
Wind his story when the detective was clearly trying to get him to progress it. It probably means that this is the part of the story he's most comfortable with, so he wants to linger on it. In other words, he spent the most time scripting, memorizing, and rehearsing this part of the story. And this part of the story contains that exchange of I love yous. So he's told the detective not once that he told Madeline he loves her and she repeated it back to him, but twice. If we were not on alert already for abuse, we should definitely be on alert for it now. When I hit play, Stephan is going to say that this day was normal. Just like parents pointing out that they love their kids, this is also something that's normally taken for granted. So when someone feels the need to say it, especially when it's not true, since he himself admits that dropping Madeline off at school isn't part of the regular routine, it suggests the exact opposite.
And Jenn says that too. Jenn says he's never taken her to school before. She actually uses the word never. This was the first time she needed to sleep in. Something's not right about this, folks. Something smells bad about this. Lies, lies, and lies. Something is really wrong with the way she says it. And the fact that she's like, oh, he's never done that before. He's also never driven your car before, and you've never said that he's driven your car. So who is driving that second car is what I want to know. All right. Same behavior as Stephan STERNS. We might as well have a picture of Jenn Soto right next to this guy, this monster.
In statement analysis, this is known as the normal effect. So listen out for it when I hit play.
Was it? Told her to have a good day. I loved her. She told me she loved me too. I turned around to leave, and I was watching her in my rearview mirror. And she looked like she was walking in the right direction. She was rummaging in her bag a little bit, like I said, but still sort of just shambling in the right direction while she was doing it. So it looked normal. It looked okay.
Okay, and then what did you do after you left the area?
I left to go to the local vape shop because I needed some more vape juice. They weren't quite open yet, so I ended up going back home.
Yeah.
Waited about an hour or so and then went back and checked the vape shop again. It was open, so I got what I needed there and came back.
Do you remember what time you came home?
The first time was probably right around 10, close to it. And then I waited here and went back to the vape shop. Probably finished at the vape shop and came back home again a little after 11.
And then what did you do after that?
I had a couple errands to run over on 192.
Now, I want you to know, folks, he's making things up, but I don't know exactly if he was just getting rid of things or going back, heading towards where the body was, and then he panicked, and then he's like, oh shit, I need to drop something off, because we just saw in the paperwork that he was all over the place. We saw his car track back and forth, back and forth. He went in, he came out, he went in. And where was Jenn Soto? She was at an appointment. She was confirmed to be at her appointment, but it was the quickest appointment in anybody's life ever. Hence, an alibi. Very quick. Where was she in between? They haven't showed us any of that yet. We don't have her records, and you have to get a subpoena for that. So now we wait.
She was talking about making a BJ shopping list. She just wanted to make sure I was back in time for us to both go pick up.
He doesn't realize it yet, but Stephan hasn't said Madeline Soto's name once, and we're halfway through this interview. This extreme distancing is the second biggest red flag for abuse so far in the interview. As I mentioned earlier, predators don't like to use their victims' names because psychologically, they want to distance themselves from what they've done to them, and it helps to dehumanize them. Coming up is going to be one of the most predictive signs of abuse that we'll see in the video. But before we get there, I'll just quickly ask you, have you picked up on all the leakage that Madeline's did? For example, when he says moving along rather than walking. I think he only said she was walking once. Or how when he quotes what she says, he never actually quotes actual words. He just states her intentions, like an omniscient narrator telling us what a character in their story is thinking. Or the fact that she was snoozing most of the ride. It's morbid, but the leakage is there if you listen for it.
I was back in time for us to both go pick up. So I was visiting some card shops around the area on 192. I'm kind of a nerd, so we had a new trading card game release, and I was seeing what the situation was with it.
Do you remember what places you visited?
Yeah, Coliseum of Comics. Stopped by a couple Targets, and I was going to go to House Rules Games down by Oak and 192.
I mean, this was within hours, folks. He did, how many errands did he go to? He was going to meet up at BJ's, but he didn't show up. And he went to a couple of Targets and a vape shop. And he really did. He was all over the place. And he told them this in case they checked his records. What was really happening at that time, and where was Jenn at the time? She also normalized that morning like it was any other morning. What was Jenn doing? Think about that as he's telling the story, because she's next.
Didn't make it that far. I got a flat tire on the way.
You sure did, buddy.
It was on 192. I pulled into one of those plazas somewhere.
That's a lie.
It's been about 10 years since I switched out a tire, though, so I made a lot of rookie mistakes and ended up pinning my thumb between the frame and the jack. Yeah, I'm lucky it's not a lot worse than it could have been.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And you probably have scratches from Maddie, and that's what it was from. Another thing is that a passerby that tipped in after the fact said that Stephan STERNS was on the side of the road. They didn't know it was Stephan STERNS. Saw him on the side of the road fixing a tire, and they didn't stop because there was another car behind them that they described to be a white car. So it also makes me wonder, was that white car Jennifer Soto out there behind him? Nobody knows because we don't have pictures out there. We don't know yet. We may never know if that was her behind him, but she was also out and about. Was that her behind him? we still don't know. Again, this is just speculation and in my opinion, but you cannot drive two cars at the same time. Nor did Jenn ever say again that Stephan STERNS ever drove her car. So that's odd, unless he just took the keys for no reason and took her car. Why? I don't know. Makes no sense.
Do
you remember the name of the plaza by any chance? Do you remember like what stores were?
It was like right before you got to Oak though, so it was one of those little strips.
Okay.
I don't know, you've probably been asked already, but she's never ran away or been away for longer than a certain period of time, amount of time.
No, she's very dependent on us. I don't think she'd know what to do if she did run away. She's not the type.
Yeah.
She's a good kid.
Besides the ADHD issue diagnosed or anything else?
Yeah.
This bothers
She
me.
was tested a while back and had some symptoms of autism, so she's...
On this channel, we use deception detection techniques like statement analysis, critical thinking, formal logic, and Bayesian statistics to uncover the truth. In this case, the red flag for abuse is a statistical one. As I pointed out in my first Stephan STERNS video, How to Expose a Psychopath, the fact that Madeline was disabled increased her risk of abuse by 300% statistically. So that means we need to be aware there's a higher likelihood of abuse, but we can't confirm it. Moreover, Madeline was a quote-unquote stepchild. This is also an exacerbating factor, increasing the likelihood of abuse by a whopping 40 times or 4,000%. In other words, we can't say for sure that Madeline was abused based on these statistics. The vast majority of disabled stepchildren live perfectly happy lives with...
But I do appreciate Deception Detective pointing this out. I also appreciate him pointing this out about step parents. Nothing against step parents. I never call myself a step parent because I raised my son since he was 5, and I'm mom number 2. With my daughter, we're both moms. We had her together, but there's other channels that normalize, oh, if you don't trust the step parent, you should divorce them. I'm tired of hearing that. I heard it again the other day. It's ridiculous. You know what? If you go out of town with your girls and you have a stepdad in the house and you have your daughter there, just send your daughter over to auntie's house or somebody else that's not just leaving with the stepdad. It's just not that you don't trust him, but hey, give her a good time too. Let your daughter or your kid, whatever, go have a good time while you are, if you got to leave them out of town. It's just better not to leave your children, especially with somebody that is not their parent. Again, nothing against parents or men. I think this channel that likes to say that is like, oh, it's against men, and no, it's not against men. It's against men, women. Some lady in the channel said that somebody's aunt stayed the night and wanted to sleep with the kid, and she said, no, nobody sleeps with my child. It's not a man or a woman thing. It's protecting your children. Aw, and dead Robin, yeah, mom number 2. All right, yeah, Stephan STERNS is a loser, and thank you, Jay. And thank you, Jamila. Truth, Jay. Protect your children, period. I don't give a shit about how other people feel about that. They'll get over it.
Perfectly loving parents, but it does mean we should be more alert to it, since it's statistically more likely than if that weren't the case.
Besides the ADHD issue diagnosed or anything else?
Yeah. She was tested a while back and had some symptoms of autism, so she's potentially on the spectrum there.
Okay.
She was officially diagnosed with it when she was younger, and she was retested and said, well, she shows symptoms of being on the spectrum, but maybe not full-on autistic.
When did you come back to help?
Not even.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like, because you live down south, right? When did you come back up north to help her?
I just got here this weekend.
Do you remember what day it was?
Maddie's birthday.
Sunday was her birthday party, so yeah, it was the evening after her birthday party. Sunday.
Okay. Do you remember what time you got here on Sunday?
8:30ish, maybe.
Okay.
Just in time to make sure that she was doing all her nighttime routines.
Knowing what we know now, I could spend an entire video analyzing this one statement. For the purposes of this video, the red flag here is the same one I pointed out in the start, the vagueness about what goes on inside the home. He skipped over all the morning routines of getting up, having breakfast, showering, and now he summarizes all the evening routines of having dinner, brushing teeth, getting tucked into bed into 3 words: nighttime routines. I shudder to think of what those routines were.
Agreed.
Took some time to make sure that she was doing all her nighttime routines. I'm waiting for her mom to get home.
And did you catch his voice too? When you hear statement analysis, when I'm talking to a person in general, I'm very bold how I talk. You can hear it in my voice how I talk very clearly. And when I'm talking to somebody and I'm asking them a question and their voice drops the way his did, that is clear deception to me. And we know he was deceiving us in this. So I just wanted to give you a hint. If you're talking to somebody and you're asking them a direct question that you want to know the answer to, you don't need to let them know that you know. But when their voice drops to that level and they get real meek and small, they're more than likely not telling you the truth. And it's easy to spot with your children. It's a good way to practice with your children because at a certain age, kids lie about everything when they're little. I remember going through that with my son. He would just lie for no reason, and we had to tell him why it's not good to lie. And now he's amazing grown man, and my daughter too, just for no reason, sometimes just tells tall tales, and you could tell. It's a good way to, fading facts. It's a good way to tell. And this is what we're doing here. We're learning, folks. It's not just about Stephan STERNS personally, because we know what he's accused of now. It's a good thing for you if you're dating somebody, if you have a boyfriend around or a stepdad that's a new whatever. It's a good way to learn. Thanks, Tiff Knox. Good to see you in that beautiful face. Thank you. Sickening. This happens more than we know. Absolutely, it does. And one of the people that make it okay for people to sleep with stepdads also says it's closer than you know. There's a lot of people, and I'm like, what about you, sir? All right. No accusations, just saying.
You guys go anywhere last night? Was that media?
Maybe. I think Fox 35 or something.
Let me tell him to use it.
Okay.
I don't recall.
I agree with that.
You have to ask her if we went anywhere. I don't recall. I was so zonked out on Ativan at that point.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's your
wreck. I don't.
And this would have been when?
I don't recall us going anywhere last night, but honestly, at that point, my brain was mush, and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. It's just
this right here, man.
Just like non-biological fathers and children with disabilities, drugs in the home also increase the risk of abuse. Drugs can lose.
And who was taking care of Maddie if y'all believe that Jenn is just this dumb potato that was just on drugs all the time and didn't know what was going on? And also Stephan STERNS was doing that as well. Who was watching Maddie? Well, we know Stephan STERNS was, and we know that he had a problem with it and was probably up to the point where he was snorting the Adderall, because now we see his coffee thing in his letters. I don't even know what you call that, a coffee fetish. He's like fixated on coffee. So that's to keep his endorphins going. For what? I don't know what he needs to do all day in prison except read, or jail. He's on prison, excuse me, in jail. Read books, dumb books at that have ruined books that he names for me. But that Adderall addiction translates to him needing that caffeine in the uppers.
Loosen up abusers enough to actually act on their impulses, or they can be used to intoxicate the victims to make them easier to take advantage of.
That too.
Indeed, sedatives and painkillers are a recurring theme in many of the missing children cases we analyze on the channel.
Yes, good.
The day Summer Wells disappeared, her mother and her grandmother filled a prescription for painkillers. My analysis of the McCanns has caused me to form the opinion that they routinely sedated their daughter, which was a contributing factor to her demise. As Sari Dwen pointed out over in the DD forum, it's also extremely convenient that Stephan was high later on in the day.
Right.
Personally, I think that's because he and Jenn likely didn't spend as much time scripting and coordinating this part of the story. They probably spent most of their time on the school drop-off narrative, because that's actually the climax of the story, or what I call the money shot. If they can sell the police on that.
So even though Deception Detective is not outright saying it, oh, there he goes, Deception Detective, even though he's not outright saying it, when he's saying they were probably scripting it together, read between the lines, folks. And Deception Detective, from what I hear, Jenn Soto and family do watch all of my shows, just so you know. Actually, a lot of YouTubers that I don't even know how they know me watch my shows on Madeline Soto, because I do have ties with the community and things that are right off the bat. Nobody would have known about the memorial. I knew about it first, unless you're in the area and you heard it that day. I knew about it very quickly, we'll say. So I believe Jenn Soto and family are watching this. I hope they answered your question. We all love you, Deception Detective. And I know the ladies love you, that's for sure. I love you for different reasons. But anyway, yeah, I hope that bitch is watching too. Absolutely. Jackie B, thank you. A lot of people know me because of this coverage, and I don't even have close to the amount of subscribers that I would like. So don't forget to hit the like button in between all that fun stuff. Let's keep going, because we haven't. Now we're gonna play that clip that shows a weird narrative change, and then we're gonna roast Jenn Soto in new analysis.
They can get away with everything else. When I hit play, listen to all the other convenient excuses Stephan has for the plot holes in his story, and keep an ear out for probably the most disturbing comment he makes in the entire interview, now that we know the extent of the abuse that was going on in the home.
You make a U-turn, you go back to the McDonald's, but you said that she still doesn't want the McDonald's.
Still doesn't want it. She was just going to eat the Danishes that I had given her.
So you're going up here now, still northbound on Jungyoung Parkway. You make a left at Town Center this time.
Town Center, then make a right onto, yes.
And then you drop her off around
dropped her off around halfway up the road there.
So keep in mind, all of this is still northbound.
Okay.
Right? You're still northbound on Jungyoung Parkway. So why is your car seen going southbound at 8:10? I'll show you what location it is.
This is the best part. This is where they're starting to. Now he knows, and I know he's sweating. Now they're on to him. They were on to him before, I'll tell you that much, and they were letting him talk and tell his stupid stories. Now they're on to him.
McDonald's is over here. At 8:10, your car is seen going southbound at this intersection. So meaning going toward.
Yeah, hit the like button.
I had forgotten something. I had forgotten my gate clicker. I'm sorry. I forgot. I had gone back to the house real quick after we left because I forgot my gate clicker. I actually had to go through the front gate and use my parking pass to grab my clicker.
And he apologized, folks. That's a big problem when you're doing interviews with the police or you're doing interviews with news media. When you're apologizing for things, it's very much a verbal leakage, but it's also a problem, and they look at it closer when you start apologizing. Alley Cat says, this is hard for me. It happened in my life while I was in the hospital. I was married to him. Long, sad story. I'm sorry to hear that. That's why a lot of people are on my channel, because they can relate to these things that the messages I put out there and the case coverage. We're all here for you.
Clicker. So it was the wrong time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was sorry these times. I'm not a morning person.
I don't think I have any other questions. Do you?
I don't know where my head was yesterday. It was so far up my backside.
That's okay. We understand.
Yeah, it sure was.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for all this to get sorted out, I am going to hold on to your phone.
Your phone.
I'll give it back to you when we're done.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
Listen.
How long are you gonna need my phone?
I'm not sure. I'm waiting for my supervisor to call me.
My dad. It's just my.
All right, listen. His voice dropped, and he's saying that he needs it because his dad is gonna call him. His dad does call him. His dad does come down. His dad does hang out at the hotel with him and Jenn. And I do believe his dad does know more. And I do believe his dad had a part in that email that he sent with the mom in jail, because he knows more. He was there. He came to get his son out of trouble. Stephan STERNS wasn't arrested yet, folks.
My dad's using that to get a hold of me and get updates.
My dad. Yeah, call Jenn's
Did the other
phone.
detective give you his business card?
I believe so.
Okay, well,
If you missed it, Stephan mentioned having his head up his backside. Given what we know now about Madeline's abuse, this might have been morbid leakage, though it's difficult to tell if it would have stood out as such at the time. To see how we did use leakage to predict something, specifically the cause of Madeline's death, click the video on your screen now. Like and comment to continue the series. You can also...
All right, and we are going to continue the series, Mr. Deception Detective. We got so many likes on this. We've got way more now on all of these. We all love you. We all support you. We all go to your channel and we watch your stuff. All right, Madeline Soto case. What's next for Stephan STERNS? And they're going to talk about Jenn Soto. Thank you, Adam, for gifting the 5 memberships. I hope people that need the membership get it. I know there are people that can't afford it, and I understand that completely. I can't afford a membership to every single channel either. I do all my favorites. Thank you, Stacy Sperry, for the $4.99 super sticker. You all are helping me out so very much, and to keep the channel going. Thank you. Gotta keep the channel going. I can't stop now. And I'm glad you're a believer, Adam. How do I get a membership? Can somebody help her get a membership in the chat? Drop a link. We just hit 444. Prayer for Maddie. She is our angel. She's watching over us, folks. If I win the lottery, I'll buy us all memberships. Thank you, Jackie. And buy me a new roof, please. All right. Someone will drop you a link. If there's a join channel, you hit the like button, hit the join button, and you'll be there every time I hear leakage. Yeah. No, I do not have a quit. All right. Let's listen to this. It's crazy. I'm not happy about what they're saying in some of this.
Morning, we're shining a spotlight on the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto and asking the questions, what's next for her alleged killer, Stephan STERNS, and for her mother? Now, on Wednesday, there was a double hearing on this case, one for Madeline's murder and another for the sex abuse case against Stephan STERNS. He's facing 2 criminal cases that have been consolidated as one, as they have the same victim. But he waived his right to appear in court. It was just his lawyers there. Now, STERNS claims that he dropped little Madeline off at school back in March, but we know she never showed up at school for her classes. Take a listen to what he told police when Madeline was still missing.
Green hoodie,
Green hoodie.
white Crocs.
White Crocs.
Either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts?
Yeah.
Black shorts? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, STERNS is charged with first-degree murder and 60 sex abuse-related charges. Now, the judge ruled that both of these cases will be continued until October 14th, and they will be running together. As I said, these cases have been consolidated, same victim, and perhaps it's all part of the same course of conduct. We have limited information about her death because she is a minor child. I want to discuss this with 2 great guests now. I want to welcome in an investigative reporter with WFTV TV station in Orlando, Florida. She's been following this case from the beginning. Shannon Butler is with us, and still with me, trial attorney and law professor Dante Mills. Shannon, let me start with you, please. A lot of people wondering about what's going on with
All right, now they're talking about Stephan STERNS and Jennifer Soto. All right, thank you for the gifted memberships. 5 more from Michelle, 5 more from Adam. That's 10 memberships. 15 memberships were gifted tonight, folks. I hope that you guys like the memberships and that you appreciate them and you use them, because a lot of people want to have a membership and they might not be able to afford it. So I hope you do. Thanks. I turned it on. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So this is what's happening. And it's interesting how the narrative is going to change here. Listen to this. This is why I'm strategically playing this. And then what we're going to play next is very strategic. No pun intended.
Mom, with Jennifer Soto, because there's been this cloud of suspicion over her. Curious what, if anything, you've learned in recent weeks in your digging in on this case.
So at this point, we do not believe the target, that focus is on Jenn Soto. That is not, of course, what the public here wants to hear. I don't get any more question on this case than I do about what's going to happen with Jennifer Soto. But that doesn't mean that nothing will happen. But right now, it does not appear that their focus is on Jennifer Soto. But what is interesting here is we have gotten some discovery. For those who don't know what that is, that's kind of the documents that police have used to present their case for charges. We have gotten some interviews. And when we requested the interviews, we did receive the interviews from Stephan STERNS, at least the initial interviews. We also asked for that initial interview with Jenn Soto, which we have not received yet. So it is possible there is still work to be done to try to figure out how much Jenn Soto knew or didn't know, or if she had any involvement here. They have been very, very tight-lipped when it comes to Jenn Soto, but all of the investigation that we have done so far does not appear that they are honing in on her, at least at this moment.
Shannon, appreciate that. I have a clip where she and Stephan are explaining the drop-off process that they had from Madeline. And in this clip, they're talking about how she was a bit embarrassed by his car, and that may have explained the distance for the alleged drop that we know never occurred. Let's take a look at it together now.
She got dropped off and she was like, so she could barely explain this car. So she didn't want to be dropped off at school. She wanted to be dropped off like half a block away so she can walk.
She's in the face.
But he dropped her off half a block away and drove away.
So pay attention how much she believes Stephan STERNS. She either believes him that much or she's telling the narrative because she was involved in the narrative, which in my opinion is what happened. And I think that they do have their subpoenas. They are making a case. They do want to arrest her for something. And we have many somethings, but listen how she talks, and she's very confident about what she's saying. Why so confident, Jen? How do you know so much about what happened that morning? Yeah. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Do I have your attention, please? All right.
Did she ever go to school?
No, we called school.
Was walking in that direction. She was rifling through her backpack, just looking for something. I thought maybe she was just looking for headphones before she got the walking on.
Yeah.
But she was just kind of, shambling over in that direction. It looked the same as any other morning.
Okay, so all this information, of course, as you both know, Shannon and Dante, going to become key as the state's continuing to build this case. Shannon, in your work for WFTV, you did an interview with one of them, right? Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so we did an initial interview with both Stephan STERNS and Jennifer Soto in their home. At the time, this was just a missing girl, but there was something that just didn't set right because the original post had said that Stephan had dropped her off at school and she was never seen again. The police had not yet come out to say that there's a missing girl, we need your help, but we went down just in case something occurred that we would need those interviews later. We did do those interviews. You could tell.
Yeah, this lady is awesome that she did the interviews with them, and definitely Savage Barbie. I love Eminem, but he's right. There's two shady people here, and when I say that, I say, well, the real Slim Shady, please stand up. Do I have your attention? There's two of them right there, and both of them are shady AF. Wonder what's going to go down next. Also bust out with a rap if you want me to. Okay. I might get pulled down, though.
From the beginning of those interviews, something just wasn't right with either of those interviews. And there were some things in those interviews as we continued along in the first couple of days, even that those statements by both of them just were not lining up with their own statements day after day after day. And so that's how this started to kind of unravel. Investigators were onto them from the very beginning. They knew that his statements did not match what they found on his phone. At the time of the interview that we did not have that information on the cell phone.
Okay, so this was the story I was telling you about 2 episodes ago. Yeah, please stand up. Well, the real Slim Shady. Listen, I was telling you her story that she's telling you now. From the inside information, they told us that the news station said that they weren't jiving, and they phoned it into the police, and they were already on to them when they were doing those interviews. At that time, they already had eyes set on both of them, folks. So they weren't doing those interviews just to be like, oh, let me interview the parents so I can see them cry or whatever. No, they were already honed in on it, everybody. And she's telling you right now, Patty Mason, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. You guys are awesome. All right. So yeah, this was what I was telling you, and this is what she's telling you, and it's good to hear.
Just yet. But it was very, very clear that their statements were different along the way.
Right. That interview, I'm sure you could just cut the tension with a knife in that room, Shannon. What a terrible situation this is. And now, after he's put himself out there publicly, so publicly, media interviews, they're caught on tape trying to explain things. Dante Mills, I want to bring you in on the legal aspect here. Do you think his attorneys might be doing a little damage control with him waiving these court appearances so that he's not in front of the cameras as this case progresses?
I do. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, Julie, and I kind of know what pushes your buttons, and this is one of those cases. If these allegations are true, it's a predator who sexually assaulted Stephanie Soto multiple times, and there's 60 counts, and then it leads to her disappearance, and then the murder, or Madeline Soto. I'm sorry. So what you're talking about here is the mother says the last time she saw her, she sent Madeline to bed with Stephan alone. And that's why there's a cloud around these cases. There's predator situations when they are young people, if it impacts the mother and they're kind of recruited and there's a hold that's over them that they allow this to happen in their home where they understand or know that sexual abuse is happening and then it escalates is a very scary situation because our children should be protected. I think his criminal defense attorneys are right to hide him as much as possible because I don't think there's any love for him right now from anyone based on these allegations, based on how they've been acting, based on the fact pattern that we have here. So I want this trial to move forward. It's now set to go at some point in October so we can hear all of the evidence, hear what happened to Madeline.
It's not going to happen in October, folks. I'm not a psychic, nor would I ever put them on my channel, not because I don't find them entertaining, but I'm not a psychic, and it's not going to happen in October. I believe they're still building a case against Jenn. They're still listening in on Stephan's phone calls, if he's having them. They're reading his tablet. They're making sure they catch anything they can, and they're hoping to have a conversation with him. They're also subpoenaing Jenn's phone records, which take a while. They've done a lot of work behind the scenes that we don't know about. They don't even look at each other. They don't look at each other. That it was very apparent to everybody that they were telling a story and it wasn't jiving, in my opinion. All right. Agreed. Guilty of crime, too much to investigate. Still, yeah, this is not going to happen anytime soon, folks. But Jenn Soto, I really do hope that she is arrested. It's been 4 months. That's not that long to take. Maybe someone can look up how long it took for Kayla Montgomery. Sometimes they use people as witnesses. She's not talking, so that's not going to happen. But I'm telling you, once he does talk, if he does say something about that message, they're going to go head to head and they're going to be he said, she said. Jay, your show yesterday made me so sad. All my shows make me sad. I've got to be with each other in the light, and otherwise it sits with us.
I haven't heard about her body and the condition, but there's a lot of questions here that just don't sit right with me. It doesn't look good for the defendant.
No, not at all. And quickly, Dante, please want to ask you, do you think we're going to see this result in a plea? We know he's looking at the death penalty. Do you think his attorneys are going to try to work something out?
It really depends what other evidence is out there. So without us knowing how Madeline's body was or things like that, where it will be clear whether or not a conviction is likely. That's the decision that's made when a plea is on the table. How likely are you to be found guilty? And then you decide, should I take the plea for the least possible sentence?
I appreciate it so much. We've got to leave it there for now, but great conversation with you both. Thank you for that. Dante Mills, thank you so much. We've got to let you get off to court. Shannon Butler with WFTV in Orlando, thank you for lending.
All right, so we're going to get into the analysis, and I just don't know what's happening here. There's also another interview, but I'm not going to play that right now because we have the analysis. Now, Deborah, I'd love to help you get a membership. I don't know if you have a credit card on file. My credit card's on file with my Google account, so I don't ever have to put a credit card in. I just hit join and I hit buy and they take my money. So after you hit join, you might have to put a credit card in if you don't have one. But we don't take your information or anything like that. I saw some people asking that, does my channel collect people's, do I sell names or something like that? Do I collect people's names and sell them? I'm a true crime channel trying to help victims and their families. I definitely am not going to be fraudulent to you or anybody else. And I'm not talking to you specifically, but anybody that asks those questions. I am a true crime channel that legitimately wants to help victims. I'm absolutely not going to victimize you and your name or credit card information or anything like that. So if you might have to put a credit card if you don't have one. And for anybody that was in chat saying things like about collecting information, etc. No, I don't do anything nefarious to you guys. I only want light and love for everybody and to help you, for you to help me, for us to help each other and to get the real news out there. So yeah, hit that like button. We're going to get to strategic. I was going to go right to the analysis, but I want you to hear what he says real quick. Again, Strategic Eyes.
I had a great weekend, as I said. Appreciate you for joining me today on another episode of Strategic Eyes Show. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going through a series that we're going to be doing on this show.
And this is what I wanted to do on mine. I wanted to go back to back, but I want you to hear now we're doing Jenn Soto. So now that you heard that interview, this was the latest court TV, that episode that came out about Jenn Soto, Madeline Soto, etc. Now that you know everything that's going on, you saw the scripted interview. Yeah, you can use PayPal, etc. Now you saw the scripted interview and you know how to spot predators. You're going to see another predator. Yeah, you can use anything you want. And I promise I'm not taking your money or selling names or any of that crap. All right. Let's listen to this. I want you to hear what he says. It's kind of funny.
We already completed the first part of the series, and that is us analyzing the detective interviews that occurred with Stephan STERNS. And that is available in our playlist in a part 1 and a part 2. Now what we're going to do, since we don't have a video of detectives interviewing Jenn Soto, what we're going to do is we're going to analyze every single video that we can find, and it's not that many of them, so it's not
that many, so it's not that long, but we're doing it together, and I want you all to see. Yeah, his Mr. Strategic series are fascinating because he is hardcore from New York. He's been in the sex crimes unit for over 20 years. He's very harsh with what he says, but he's very real with what he says. So he knows about these things. Thank you, Andres Hernandez. It says, I believe in you. Thank you. Beautiful baby and person in that picture. I don't know. All right, let's listen. He talks about him being a little biased, and then we're going to get into these interviews together. Strategically, I played this video in the order that I did.
We're going to be here for 20 hours, but we're going to analyze every video we can find. It's like 3 or 4 of them, I believe. If anybody has any that they have discovered and they think I don't have, please send me the link at the email, Strategic Eyes with a Z at the end, Strategic Eyes, common spelling with a Z at the end of the eyes @gmail.com, or hit me up on a Facebook, or hit me in a Discord, whatever. Send me the link. We'll add it to the queue. We're going to analyze every video where Jenn Soto speaks about Madeline Soto. We're going to analyze it. We're going to react to it. We're going to give that professional opinion of what's going on. What is her body language telling us? What are her words telling us? Is she being deceptive? Is she being truthful? We're going to analyze her just as we analyze Stephan STERNS. Now, before we go any deeper into this, if you're new to the channel, I'm going to be honest with you because we deal with facts on this channel. And I have to be honest with you. I am biased. I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible as I evaluate her statements, but I am biased in that I believe that she had something to do with this, or she's at the very least negligent. There is a possibility that Jenn Soto had nothing to do with the murder, the disappearance, the essay of this beautiful angel, Madeline Soto. There's a possibility. There's always infinite possibilities in our world, correct, right? But if there is a possibility that she didn't know, in my eyes, so I'm telling you my biases now, she's still negligent. She still failed to protect her child as a mother should. So we're going to go into this. We're going to evaluate it. We're going to check it out and give you guys my opinion. And hopefully Maddie will get to justice.
All right, folks, if you want to send me a link, you can. Melly, thank you so much. Wanted to give you a update, but I can't see it on anything that I Googled so far. So breaking news. Do you remember the well? There was a wastewater lift station, and the body has been identified as Caleb Harris. So I don't want to take away from this. I can play that clip if someone wants to email it to me. Melly, if you want to shoot me an email, thank you so much for the breaking news. It has been identified as Caleb Harris. We all went to that station. People were filming it, etc., etc. And it made sense that it would be Caleb Harris. Well, because he was right where that happened. So I'll play that if someone sends it to me, and I could look for it as we go. All right, let's get into this. This is really good, and he's really harsh, and it makes sense. And thank you, Melly.
Red flag number one. Number one, she does not look that physically upset. Now, listen, you can't expect people to cry for all eternity, right? You just can't expect that. At some point, a person is going to cry themselves out. At some point, they're going to have lucid moments when they can speak about a tragedy and not break down into tears. But when you look at her face, when she first started out. She does not look like she's under that much distress. Look at that face there. And then we go into the famous statements that she has made that has turned the whole internet against her when she says, we. I counted 3 or 4 we's in one statement. In just a few sentences out her mouth, she said, we took her to school. We dropped her off at a church. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that many YouTubers have talked about this, and
we can use verbal leakage from deception detective red flag. When you're saying we, you're putting yourself right in the thick of things, folks. There's no other reason. She wasn't scared. She actually looked scared for herself, not for her daughter. And there's so many. Yeah, you guys are nailing it. Baby boomer NYC. She actually looks terrified for herself and not for her daughter. She is still negligent, absolutely. And if they arrest her just on that alone, she's going to be out really quick, and then it's not going to be good for her. But let's keep going. I'm going to find the Caleb Harris thing so I can play it for you at some point.
We've beaten this into a bush. But what reasonable and logical person is going to say we when they know that factually they weren't there? We know for a fact Jenn Soto was not in that car with Stephan STERNS and Madeline Soto. Why say we if you know for a fact you were not there? Remember, every single detail is what will hopefully bring your child home alive. So why make the public feel as though you both dropped her off when it's not the truth? You both did not drop her off. So you are basically impeding an investigation. And you're misleading the public because you're giving us false information. Let's continue.
Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street and walked to school, what we thought walked to school. My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away at that point. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school.
By the way, for the 125th time, folks, that was not her boyfriend even at the time. He was dating other women in between the time that he was at his mom's house. He had not been there for over a month. That was not her boyfriend. So she was making it seem like it was her boyfriend so that it didn't look suspicious. And she was obstructing justice at that point because they could have been looking for Maddie and already looking at him. This is a very good interview that he's analyzing because he calls a lot of this out, but I don't know if he actually knows that they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. And sometimes she calls him her partner, but she never made it.
I wish I could get my hands on that footage. I'm not going to hold this against Jenn Soto because I don't have the facts. I've never seen that footage. But we're supposed to know our children. I'm not going to hold this against her, though. I don't know how she could confuse another child with her own when you're not just looking at build, because that could be deceptive. You know, how tall is the child? Does she have long hair, etc., things like that. I mean, did that girl have the same book bag as Madeline Soto? Did she have the same clothes? I presume that the mother's buying the clothes because I have a 12-year-old in the house. I have a 16-year-old. I have a 5-year-old. I buy the clothes for all of them. My 16-year-old, I don't personally buy her clothes, but she'll send me links with her shopping cart online, and I'll go through it and just briefly look at what I'm paying for. So I would understand when I see, hey, you know what? I remember those black leggings that I bought her, but usually kids try and be distinctive on their book bag. Are we to believe? Because here's Madeline's mother who's saying we saw her on CCTV going to school. We supposed to believe that this child looked exactly like Madeline Soto in every aspect, the distinctive book bag, the distinctive hairstyle, distinctive clothing, everything looked exactly like Maddie, that mommy would now believe, hey, this is my child who's walking to school, who was just let out by my boyfriend. I mean, I want to go back and just hear her say that statement again. Let's go. Let's listen.
Out of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. But she never made it. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. But she never made it from that walk and that was around 9 a.m. when she got up.
She never made it to school after
9
that.
a.m. when she got up. See?
It's right next to the school. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way or if she got taken, but she never made it.
And why would you go to that? What happened along the way? It wasn't right by her school, by the way. And yeah, I'm going to show you really quickly just so you guys can see and you don't hop off. And then afterwards, I'm sure the almighty GHI is going to show you. He's going to do a whole episode and then ask you for a bunch of money the whole time and then put himself in jail. So just real quick, I want you to see wastewater plant remains confirmed to be Caleb Harris. CCPD officials confirmed news Wednesday evening. It was, in fact, Caleb Harris that was found in Corpus Christi. They confirmed the human remains near Ennis Road likely belonged to him. He's been missing since March 4th, last seen off campus. Harris took to social media Wednesday night, posting, "We all have heavy hearts this evening. We learned of the positive identification of our sweet Caleb. We'll grieve for our son. Let's all say a prayer for him, knowing his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Our only hope is in Jesus. If you don't know our Savior, please talk to me. I love talking about Jesus. Thank you for the prayers in this tragic time." All right, so rest in peace, Caleb Harris. I am so glad that they found his body and the family is able to get closure like that. Sometimes you never get closure. The wrong one. Sorry. Let me go back to that video. I just wanted to stop and show you all so you absolutely knew that was what was happening. All right, let's listen to this because we want Jenn to be arrested, and the more ammunition we have, the better.
And that was
Yeah, real quick, big shout out to Tony. Says, as I said the other day when I found your channel, I appreciate you so much. Not only are you knowledgeable, but such a gentleman. And I really appreciate you with your comments. And I appreciate all the love that this channel has been getting and all the people who are taking the time to view the channel and hear my commentary. Thank you so much for supporting me. And I hope that I'm bringing something probative and relevant when I talk about these things. And, you know, this is my passion. This is my life's work. It's what I do. This is how I feed my family. This is how I pay the bills. It's not this YouTube channel, but advocating for victims in the real world, finding justice for victims in the real world, and removing dangerous predators from our communities in the real world. That's what I do. That's what I'm proud of. And being able to come here and talk to you guys, believe it or not, is my therapy. It actually helps me decompress and get all of that stuff that I got to deal with in a day job out of my system. So as much as you guys are appreciative of me, you have no idea how appreciative I am of you. So let's keep going. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
The last anyone seen of her or heard from her?
Yes. I went to pick her up after school, and she was.
And the finality, folks, and going to pick her up after school and the way it happened, and we're going to see all that, but we've seen it before. I love his perspective, however, and the passion he brings, and us missing things, the long sleeves. Although one of the interviews, she did have her sleeves rolled up, but it doesn't mean that she didn't get scratched up here. So I just wanted to point that out, Millie.
There. So I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. Drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to the school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
Have you heard from like any of her friends?
Now, I know most people who are on this channel.
Well, she's not stupid. At Big Ham, I just want to tell you she's not stupid because the roommate that lived with her told me how not stupid she was and how smart she was to get through being able to have Social Security and her disability and still fly under the radar with it. She's very manipulative, actually. Instead of stupid, manipulative is a way better word for Jenn Soto. So knowing who I know and what I know, stupid is not a word that I would call her. Susan Travers, 1999. I pray the judge will deny any future requests to not be present. He needs to face the jury, hear the facts, and not be a coward like Adam Montgomery. I agree. Same thing as Adam Montgomery. Kayla Montgomery is what I keep thinking that's going to happen with her. When you get somebody in chat that's saying you think Jenn is just stupid, she might be able to play that out to somebody that doesn't know her. But for somebody that does know her, manipulative and controlling and very insecure enough to keep a man around by giving her child to a predator. Those are the words that I would use.
Are true crime aficionados. Like, you guys are subscribed to multiple true crime channels, not just the Strategic Guys show, as you shouldn't be. Should be listening to multiple theories and just points of view is the words that I was looking for. You should always diversify your points of view. But that being said, you guys have seen many interviews with family members and loved ones. What is the difference between this video and every other video that you've seen where family members are interviewing, trying to advocate for their loved one that's hurt or missing? And I'll tell you what the answer is. You will see them together, emotionally supporting each other. What do we see here? We see Stephan STERNS in the background.
This is actually perfect. And I didn't think about this, folks. They're not together in any interviews. As a matter of fact, in one interview, she's in one set. In another interview, he's in another set. And then another interview, he's back there behind her. And then when they're with the body cam, they're not even, he's sitting there holding a phone like this. And in my opinion, Jenn Soto is controlling that narrative. Good call. Great call.
Hovering almost over Jenn Soto. We see him intently listening to what she's saying. We also don't see him next to her, supporting her. And that could be an example of his guilt, of what's going on inside of his soul and his spirit. It could be other things. It could be his way of controlling her. That presence behind her keeps her in check. I don't know. I have no idea. I could just give you what my thoughts are from my experience. But this is very weird. It's very odd. It's not normal. It's abnormal. But let's keep going.
I didn't
Has
even
she been
think
active
about
on any
that.
social media?
She hasn't been active on social media. None of her chats, none of her games. We did contact all her friends. None of them had seen her Monday or heard from her. Yeah, there's no update.
Why is she smiling?
Yeah. How could you smile?
Why is she
at a
smiling?
time like that?
That's odd to me. Like, she's not a commentator who's like, giving fluff commentating information on CNN or MSN.
Yeah. In no videos ever do you see a person pleading for their daughter to come home with that type of finality and that smile that she does. Now, that stupid animal feeder's not going off. I also want to thank Valerie Vermonte for the $20 Cash App. I appreciate you so much. I do not have a tin cup out, but you are helping me to run the channel, pay for the things. I appreciate it. So we can have a channel that exists. I'll never have a tin cup begging for money or shaming you folks that can't afford it. Duper's Delight is absolutely right. And I believe that as well. I believe it was Duper's Delight many times in these interviews. And Stephan STERNS is back there making sure that he hears what she's saying so they can keep their story straight. He didn't realize they were looking at them yet. And they were looking at both of them, by the way, which means they're still looking at Jenn Soto.
NBC or Fox News, when they're done with their commentary, they smile. Like, we're talking about your missing daughter. Why are you smiling for? It's another red flag for me. Like, her emotions do not seem to match the gravity of the situation. Milte Ma said, see if I can pull this up over here. Did she just say she called 911? That's a lie. Her sister and mother called, and that's correct.
Yeah.
I think eventually she
times.
called 911, but it was her sister and her mother who were the ones who were the first to.
No, let's correct that, folks. She never did. And we love you, Mr. Strategic, but she never called. And some people get confused because they don't know the voices or whatnot. Grandma called and was pissed off. She wasn't as mad the first time, and she hung up. And then Auntie Stephanie Soto called twice. Jen was in the background, probably pacing, giving them false information. No, she never did not call. I'm going to go for that.
Talking about Maddie, the mother suffers from ADHD. The mother has depression. Well, he didn't say that Madeline Soto had depression, but he said she had ADHD and was possibly on the spectrum for autism. Notice they're playing from the same playbook. Notice that they're both using mental health to excuse behaviors that most of us would presume is like, that's not really plausible. It's not really something we would see happening from somebody who, from our experience in life. So I'd love to talk to and hear from family members and friends of Maddie I'd love to hear from her friends.
And the only reason we can't at this point is because they're all on the witness list. So we're not allowed to talk to them. Now, you're right, Mrs. Tina, she also never went home. She said she doesn't think Maddie would know how to get home, and so she stayed at grandma's office. It's because the house was a crime scene, folks. That house ultimately became the condo became a crime scene, and they kicked everybody out to gather evidence. And there is evidence that we still haven't seen yet that's been collected from the house in the documentation. Not only that, the Chris Watts, what I want to bring up is he did that sway thing, the exact same sway that Jenn Soto's doing. And I cannot wait until they expose her. I'm so I'm driven by anger and passion that this potato head has not been arrested, and I want her to be, and I'm on it, and I'm going to stay on it until she does.
In school, if leaving her phone is something that Maddie would normally do, her friends would know, because what are these kids doing with each other while they're in school? They're texting each other. Now, I used to be a proponent that we should remove the cell phones from schools, because when I was in school, we weren't allowed to have cell phones. And I felt like I got more out of school than these kids who have cell phones. But because we have mass shooters and all this extra stuff, schools won't remove those phones. So what are kids doing all day long? They're sending memes to each other. They're texting each other. So if Maddie was the type to constantly forget her phone at home because of ADHD, which I got to tell you guys, I don't believe she suffered from ADHD. I'm not her doctor. I don't have access to her medical records, but I believe that most of her behaviors that were diagnosed were misdiagnosed because they were actually symptoms of trauma. If you're being sexually abused since 8 years old, I guarantee you're going to give behaviors such as ADHD. You're going to give oppositional behavior. She didn't suffer from that, but you might have that oppositional behavior issue. You might have other issues, developmental issues or attitude issues, because you're dealing with that trauma, and you're dealing with that trauma by yourself. And as a child, you're not equipped to deal with that type of trauma by yourself. So I don't want to go off on a tangent. I just want you guys to know, I don't believe this girl suffered from ADHD. I think she was a victim. And what would make me believe this, right? Because I don't like talking out my booty without anything to back it up. It comes from Stephan Stern's own mouth. It comes from Jenn Soto's mouth. And it comes from her classmates, her teachers, and her friends. And what they said was that after Stephan Stern moved out in December, Maddie's grades started getting better. Maddie started to not be sleepy.
And student of the month, not being sleepy. They took her off the meds, and he's right. He nailed it. And that's why we're listening to this. A lot of her symptoms, I was at a loss for words. A lot of her symptoms, I believe, came from being essayed for so many years. And the manipulation that came along with that, of her feeling that, I think she believed at some point that she was in a relationship with Stephan Stern's. And I only say that because I know victims that have, or I should say survivors that have been essayed for years, and they say that they felt bad about it, but they also felt like they were in a relationship with the person that was doing that to them, and they also felt guilty for liking the way it felt at the time. Our bodies don't let us, we can't control what our bodies, how they feel, so people feel guilty about that, and it's a whole thing. And I believe that was part of it with her and any of the mental health. However, not once did she take Maddie to the doctor when the roommate lived there. If she'd went to the doctor, wouldn't the doctor have seen some of the signs? She didn't take Maddie to the doctor other than to get her medication to zonk her out. And we don't even know if the medication was prescribed to her, by the way. All right, let's go a little bit forward.
Attitude is better, and she's actually trying to get into a relationship with a boy. The boy happened to not be interested in her, but she actually starting to do what 12, 13, 14-year-olds do, which start socializing with other people, expanding her friend network, all in the span of when Stephan Stern left.
All right, let's keep going.
If she really suffers from these mental conditions, I doubt that they would automatically just poof, disappear just because Stephan Stern's left the house.
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome.
Doesn't work that way.
That's
they started to alleviate because the constant trauma subsided. Because she actually had a moment to gather her thoughts. Because she wasn't being bombarded with negative attention that Stephan Stern was giving.
I'm not sure if it's Stockholm syndrome for that type of thing. You guys can correct me. Yeah, preach it. Preach it, preach it, preach it. A lot of these things we've covered, and I appreciate that he caught on to this as not covering it. So, yeah, I don't know if that's called Stockholm or what. And what's up, Dion Pill? I also want to thank Don Marie Bonifasudo sent me $20 cash app. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm gonna have a wonderful birthday, by the way. I'll miss you all, but I'm gonna have a wonderful birthday. It's next Thursday, the 25th. All right, let's keep going. Stella, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for a great plays. Love you all, and I love you. And if you have a question, let me know. I saw you ask for a question, but it flew by and I didn't see it. So let's keep analyzing, Jen. We love your opinions, strategic, but I want to hear her talking and what
Stephan Stearns has been
analyzing.
Straight up essaying his child.
Yeah.
Every possible way one could think. Since she was 8 years old. She's now 13 years old.
So.
And you've never seen anything in her phone, not a message from Stephan that seemed just a little bit odd. Either you're the most negligent parent on the planet, or
Stockholm
Stephan
syndrome.
Stearns is the most maniacal and intelligent crook, rapist, predator that ever lived. And how easily he was caught in his lies, and easily he was discovered to be the murderer and essay predator that he is.
Hold on, my dog wants out.
I doubt that he's that smart. I doubt that a pervert like him, who has exhibited perverted behavior since he was a teenager, I doubt that there wasn't one moment that he said, "Oh, I can't wait till you come home so I could do this to you." You can't tell me that there wasn't one moment that something like that was said.
The Mohawk. Adam Mohawk.
We're about to keep going. Two things. Hit that like button, please. Support the channel. Hit the like button, please. Number two, we got a $5 soup chat from Mallory Beavers. Thank you so much. Mallory Beavers says, "Hi, just at the start, I am new to your channel and appreciate your coverage on Maddie. Jen is horrible and fed her daughter to that monster. She's a liar."
I was trying to show Adam my Mohawk. We had a conversation the other day. I want to hear some more of what she says.
Look like a wreck. And you definitely don't look like a wreck.
Let's see.
If they can trace her scent.
Okay, that's another thing, folks. And I'll stop in a minute, but tracing her scent, when you're talking about your daughter, that it's been like 2 days and you actually could say they're looking to trace her scent. What does that mean? More than likely. And then they also talk about beating the bushes. A lot of verbal leakage. I don't know how I couldn't even stay composed to say somebody tracing my daughter's scent without just bawling, thinking the worst. New sub from Strategic, showing support. Yours truly. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We love Strategic in this community. He's an awesome man, and I love how he grows with the community, and I love what he's doing in his rebranding. That just shows growth, and growth is fantastic. Best thing you could do is grow.
They're also taking their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her.
Like I'm over here, we're here to evaluate her mannerisms and the things that she's saying, to analyze it. I can't lie to you. This is very difficult for me, guys. And the reason why it's so difficult is because my attention keeps getting diverted towards Stephan Stearns and watching his mannerisms as he speaks. This man has no empathy. He has no soul. It's almost like he doesn't care, ladies and gentlemen. Like he's not being touched at all with the fact that he just killed this girl. The fact that
he's not, and none of the times has he's acting normal since server. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. To this day, the hostages still won't say a thing. They wouldn't testify. The hostages were only in jail for 10 years. Madeline Soto did suffer from it. Signs. Absolutely. I didn't want to use the incorrect terms, but if that's what I agree with what you're saying. I didn't know if it was Stockholm syndrome when it comes to essaying or not. So thank you. I appreciate that. Trauma. Also, they also did not mention her asthma ever once and say, we really need to get her home. And tell me what you think about this as well. When you think Jenn Soto is just dumb, she never mentioned that she needed her inhaler. In other interviews with the teachers, they said she needed her inhaler. They never said in any of those, we need to get her home. she's talking about sniffing her daughter out right now, but she's not saying if she doesn't get her inhaler, she could have an attack. She won't be able to breathe. What do you guys think about that? And Millie, that's for you. I know a lot of people we've talked about this, but yeah, just I know people agree with me about the inhaler. But I mean, if you have comments about that, do you know about the inhaler? Most people do. Why didn't they talk about that ever? That her daughter needs her inhaler or something bad's going to happen.
That this woman that he's supposed to love, right? The woman that he's in a relationship with, whose daughter he was supposed to treat with respect and dignity. He violated her and ended her life. And you'll see his head like, and he's looking at his phone, and he doesn't have a care in the world, ladies and gentlemen, that he just killed this kid, and he's just a few steps away from her mother.
Because she's covering up for him.
It's
That's
sickening,
why.
guys. It's hard to even do this reaction because I just feel the presence of the devil behind her. It's like gravity. It's like he's the sun. He sucks me towards him because I know just how disgusting this human being is. Let's keep going.
But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now.
Yeah,
We've had people all day
what do you mean?
On that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar. And look,
you know why that trail is not going to find her? Because she knows she's not on that trail, and she knows they headed towards her house where she used to live, where you could dump things and nobody would ever go out there. And yes, I'm very passionate about this case, and I absolutely want to smack her in the face right now when I see that ugly face with that smell. I can't breathe, Jenn Soto. She's positive they're not going to find anything. Did you hear what she just said? It's because she knows where they dumped her. She absolutely knows where they dumped her.
Like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers.
Of course not.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out, to get some help, because I'm desperate.
Absolutely.
I'm a wreck right now.
You certainly don't look like a wreck. You definitely don't look like a wreck. Like I said.
And guess what, folks? You don't have to say I'm a wreck when you're a wreck. That's like me coming on being like, with all tattooed. Well, I have tattoos and I feel whatever. The obvious doesn't need to be pointed out, but it's not obvious, so she's pointing it out. She doesn't look like a wreck. She looks like she's scared for herself. She's got that guy in the background cracking his knuckles, making her anxious even more. Remember, she did have panic attacks and she'd check herself into a mental hospital. But Eve Phillips, you're 110% right. Somebody would mention asthma before ADHD. You said I had similar asthma, exercise induced mostly, but parents would have mentioned it before ADHD. It would have been medication would be crucial. I didn't read it exactly, but you're right. Now you have me on a tangent about that. 110% correct. Jenn is not dumb. She plays that way. I believe she came up with the whole story. Brenda Pavey, I'm right there with you. I believe that she's the puppet master. She let her daughter be abused by that monster behind her, and she was involved in more than that. The death happened, and she helped him to cover it, or he helped her to cover it, vice versa. Thank you, Dion Pill. I love your name. Hey, beautiful Jay. Having Jenn as a mother would make any child have ADHD. She comes across like a scatterbrain. Her potato is baked. And I hope her potato is baked in jail soon. I'd love to see her do the perp walk and get arrested. I don't see how anyone would be intimidated by this fucktard either any of them. Nobody would, but a little girl that would be 8 years old would be. And then when Madeline Soto got taller and prettier than her mom, well, her mom's a potato. She's always prettier than her mom. But when you see those pictures of her looking like a little young lady, that's when she told Stephan STERNS, I don't want you touching me anymore, in my opinion. And I think that's how it happened. I wonder if we'll ever know, but the probability is likely.
I'm not expecting her to cry. Some people won't cry. They'll hold out hope because guess what? Every day, millions of children go missing, but they're not actually missing, as in there's somebody nefariously holding them against their will. Every year, I should say, rather. Some teenagers run away. Some teenagers run away temporarily, and they'll just do it one time in their life. And usually they'll stay at a friend's house that the parents is not too familiar with. Sometimes they'll just wander the streets for the night. And by the grace of God, nobody's going to touch them. Not every person out there is a predator. It is possible for a girl to be out on the streets and not be harassed or victimized. But they usually make their way home, and the vast majority of children will not run away again. Usually because they ran away, the parents, the family will try and figure out why it happened, and it spurs a dialogue, and things sometimes get fixed because of it. I wouldn't recommend it for any kid. It's very dangerous. You may never make it home, but sometimes it works out that way. So when a kid goes missing, law enforcement will often tell parents, listen.
Yeah, folks, Trinity, that whole Trinity story, she ran away, and that's a mess. If anyone wants me to cover the Trinity story, let me know. She ran away, snuck out with a 17-year-old, and then now they arrested 2 people. Trinity Bostic. That is a nightmare of a story. Oh my goodness. No excuse for instructing your child to sleep with an ex. They're an ex for a reason. She never once tells anybody that that's her ex, though. Summer, and you're 110% right, but she never says that. She calls him her partner. People on YouTube channels are still calling Stephan Stearns her stepfather. I want to wring their necks. It's like, if you're going to report on this case, report on it right. That is not a stepfather. Oh my goodness, Scary Sherry, thank you so much. Happy birthday, Monty Jane. Happy birthday to my mom in heaven. She'd be 90 today. Happy birthday, Mom in heaven. And Mom, if you're here, I love you. I get to see my mom on Friday. Yay. She's coming to visit me. She lives about 2 hours away. I love her so much. Scary Sherry, thank you. Happy birthday to your lovely mom. Lovely, lovely. And I'm sure she raised you and she did a good job. I bet. Thank you. You're very sweet. And I am going to have a fantastic birthday. They were swingers with benefits, and she handed her child over to him, folks. We know because we know the roommate, and she told us, and we heard, and we know the stories about Stephan dating other people. Absolutely, this woman's disgusting.
Listen, let's focus on finding her. Now's not the time to think the worst, because
let's go a little bit forward.
Thank you, guys.
I want to hear her talk more.
I don't want her to come back harmed.
No tears.
I just want her back.
Wait, at first it sounds like she says, I don't want her to come home.
But I see somebody crying in front of me every single day.
All right,
and very, 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 very rarely does somebody cry like this.
He's not a stepfather. He never was.
It's not a real cry. But let's hear it again.
I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. What is that? Why would you even say that?
Are you getting any updates from law enforcement? I mean, yes, they're searching that small area, but have they gotten any hits on any scent or anything like that?
All right, before she continues, guys, please hit that like button, support the channel. Make sure you hit the like button if you're watching, folks. And you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Please consider subscribing to the True Crime with Strategic. I'm sorry, I get tongue-tied when I say my own name. I also have Invisalign in, and it's hard to talk with the Invisalign. It really is like a foreign entity in your mouth. It is what it is. So please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done it already. Let's keep going.
For all of us.
They haven't let me know anything. They haven't updated me since I spoke to them this morning. I've contacted them to get some information or to give them some leads, but I've heard nothing back.
And Jen, there's no way that she, just being, a teenager, was like, maybe had a fight with you or an argument with you and was like, you know what, I'm going to go hang out at so-and-so's house and teach her a lesson. Could that be a scenario?
I don't believe so. We actually haven't gotten into a fight in like a few weeks. Or
right, so the tears. Lying. When you see something like, like they're fishing, I'm digging, I'm trying to remember. She's lying. She's lying. Guarantee you she's lying. This is definitely face of deception. I want to definitely highlight this point, though, that Jacqueline D'Angelo said. I hate, YouTube names. It's so hard pronouncing.
Now, I want you to remember, Mr. Strategic has been out on the streets for 25 years over, handling CSA or child abuse and other just what cops do, interrogations, etc. He knows when he sees, and please have gut feelings. You can't go to court on a gut feeling, but when he's saying this, I don't take it lightly. I don't take it like I see other channels that don't even know what to call Stephan Stearns and are calling his parents grandma. Ridiculous. Learn your case before you do that. Mitzi Blankenship, Jenn wanted to be in a relationship with Stephan STERNS, so she allowed him to have Maddie so Jenn could hang on to Stephan STERNS. I agree on that. I've been saying that from the beginning. I think she used her as a pawn, and that's how she kept him coming back. That's why he came back for her birthday. He didn't come back to see Jenn. He got there when Maddie got home, and then Jenn went right to sleep and sent her to bed with Stephan STERNS. So you nailed that. Absolutely nailed that. He did not come to see her. What a treat. My two favorite true crime YouTube creators. What's up, Tristan Sid? How you doing? Good to see you. I love this. He's great. And Deception Detective.
People's names. She says, no plea for abductor to bring her back. And that's true. Typically, they'll even tell you before these type of interviews, if you believe that she's been abducted, please, tell the abductor to bring her back. Give a plea. Because believe it or not, sometimes it does work. Sometimes these folks, they're dealing with their mental illness that make them just want to do horrible things to other humans. And they'll feel bad and they'll let you go. We had a case where the guy was raping the lady and, afterwards he started choking her and then he started crying. And while he's choking her, he's crying. And rather than, fight or, just die, she kind of like rubbed his head and said, it's okay. And because she did that, like he just finished raping her and now he's pretty much probably thinking about killing her. But because she kind of,
like I said, Jennifer Soto and that ugly fake face that she's crying, she was the puppet master, folks. She's the one that was paying for the condo. Stephan STERNS never had a job ever while he was working with her. I think he worked at Disney for a while, but they denied it. He wasn't working at Disney when he was with her. It was in his younger days. She was paying for him, not the other way around at all. She just wanted his attention. She was very insecure and she wanted a babysitter around. And remember, he was giving her showers and giving her all this attention and playing with her. He was the one doing that, not Jenn, but we know why the motivation is now.
Flip the script and kind of empathize with him, even though he was trying to take a life, but because he was crying, because he felt disgusted with himself and he told her that, he stopped and he let her go. And he said he was sorry and he let her go. If she didn't say that, there's a possibility to just killed her.
She was desperate.
But you let her go. So, I mean, these things happen. These things absolutely happen where if you go in there and say, hey, listen, I don't know why you took my child. I don't know what you want to do with her or what you have done, but just let her go home. Just let her go. Just drop her off somewhere and just let her go. Don't make it worse for yourself. Don't rob us of our child. What's done is done. We can't go backwards. We can't fix what has been done already. Just let her go. No plea from this lady. Really good observation, Jacqueline. No.
Rowena, this is a pre-record and I'm reacting to Mr. Strategic's video, which he asked me and offered for me to use. So I'm actually not interrupting my guest. I'm not sure what you're thinking, but no interruptions on my guest. I'm reacting to his video that we've already covered, but we're taking his explanation. So I'm not interrupting my guest at all. That was a funny thing that you just said. I don't know if you're kidding or what, but ha ha. Ha ha. Very funny.
Oh, plea. You just told us that you think somebody abducted her and you're not asking for them to return her. You're not begging that they give you your baby back. It's very weird. Has any of you ever seen that before? I've never seen an interview where a person who believes that somebody has abducted their loved one has not asked for their loved one to be returned. Very weird. Let's keep going.
Arguments or anything like that. If anything, on Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with my entire...
I want to bring it back real quick, but before I do, I want to bring just a little bit back. Before I do, I want to give a big shout out to Adam Drives Helen. Adam says, first he donated $2 to the show, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so freaking much. And Adam says, appreciate your work and your heart, Strategic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I just want to say this. I have to say these things because you wouldn't know it. But we do have a membership program. As you know, Aki donated 5 memberships so far. The lowest tier is 99 cents. Right? The lowest tier for the membership is 99 cents. There are higher tiers. If you want to support the channel and you can afford to do it, that'd be great. But if you just want to be a Strategic Eyes member, you want to support the channel, the lowest tier is 99 cents. And Aki's going to drop that link.
And when we're done, you guys can all go and subscribe. If you have it, go to his channel. We love Strategic, and he's part of our true crime family. Synth server. That's exactly what CM, the ex-roommate, said. Remember, he was a filthy animal and he wouldn't let Jenn Soto go to his house. So she had to go to his house and clean his room so she could be allowed to go over there. The roommate actually asked the same question. What could you possibly want out of this man? He contributes nothing. And Jenn never gave an answer. So again, thank you, Strategic. Thank you, Adam, for supporting his channel as well. Jay and Strategic, yep, y'all are welcome. I'm cleaning up after dinner. Mitzi, I'm glad you're here. I guess you came from the Zav channel. I don't know what happened with her, but thank you for being here. You might have saw me on her channel before. Not anymore. No worries, Rowena Reigns. No worries. Thank you for the $4.99. You didn't have to do that. I just want you to know Strategic is rebranding himself, and he asked me, he said, hey, let me be your expert. Let me, as a New York officer, let me tell your audience how I feel and what I know and in my experience. And so I'm doing that and I'm interacting with the audience. So I appreciate you. You didn't have to do that. I just want you to know I'm not interrupting. And when I do have guests on my channel, I actually just let them talk. I let them get it all out. It's like a therapy session. You know what? Strategic came in chat today. He's actually out on the streets of New York working right now. He's fighting crime as we speak. So this is a pre-record, and yeah, who wouldn't want to be collaborating while you're out on the streets, getting your videos played and your narrative out there. We love you, Strategic. Thank you. All right.
Inside of the chat, because if you have an iPhone, you may not see that join button underneath the video. For some reason, Apple kinds of screwed up with YouTube. If you have an Android phone or you're on a computer, you can see join. Just click join and you become a member for 99 cents. And if you have an Apple phone, then Aki will send that link inside the chat. You guys will be able to click that link and join if you choose to. Thank you so much, Adam, for supporting the channel. Let's keep going. And let me bring it back just a tad bit.
Gotten any hits on any scent or anything like that?
They haven't let me know anything.
And they haven't let her know anything because she hasn't been out there. But I wanted to bring up what Marcia Young said about Jenn sleeping with him. As a matter of fact, she slept with him frequently, but not that frequently. But that's absolutely disgusting. In the paperwork we read that she did sleep with Stephan STERNS. He would sleep with Maddie, and then she would sleep with Stephan STERNS. So they were all three sleeping together in that way, if you know what I mean. Thank you, Dion Pill. Happy birthday early. Scary got me fired up. Just know how much we love you, Jay. Thank you for loving me so much. Thank you for letting me have a good birthday, because now I will. I'm taking some time off work, which means, you know what that means. You don't get paid when you don't work. So I'm almost out of all my vacation time, and I don't get YouTube time in, but I love you. Thank you. Yeah, vomiting in your mouth is right. All three of them were having relations of a sexual nature. And I don't know if they were all three at the same time, since they were in the bedroom quite a bit together. I don't know. We won't know unless somebody talks at some point. All right. Is who a cop now? MM? If you tell me who MM is, I'll know. Let's listen to her fake cry. Look at that face there.
They haven't updated me since I spoke to them this morning. I've contacted them to get some information or to give them some leads, but I've heard nothing back.
And Jenn, there's no way that she just being, a teenager was like, maybe had a fight with you or an argument with you and was like, you know what, I'm going to go hang out at so-and-so's house and teach her a lesson. Could that be a scenario?
I don't believe so. We actually haven't gotten into a fight in like a few weeks or arguments or anything like that. If anything, on Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with my entire family, and she had the best day. She was so happy. She showed us all her gifts.
That's another lie. In case Strategic didn't know, she did not show the gift. She was not happy, and she did not get the gift from her mom that she wanted, which is money, which makes me think that her and Maddie were having an argument at the time, or it was premeditated. So that is a big fat lie. Maddie didn't get what she wanted at all. Lie, 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 lie. And Strategic has been an officer of New York. That's all we can say. He's been in the CSA unit for over 25 years of police work and that. So yes, he has been. All right.
she's just a happy girl.
A birthday party that you didn't even go to. You didn't even go to your daughter's 13th birthday party.
She did.
13th birthday party, of which she's your daughter, so you know that the birthday party's coming. You had a whole year to request off from your employer, which is Disney, or was Disney. I don't know if she's still employed with Disney.
10 hours
but
a
which
week.
was at the least Disney, who's supposed to be family friendly. I'm pretty sure they're just like any other corporation where, you know, they care about their profits over everybody else. But
it's
you
not
had a whole
true.
year to request that day off. You didn't even go to your own daughter's birthday party. Let's keep going.
And before we go, you know I love you guys, and I love to answer your questions, and I love to interact with you. I do lives, and when I don't do a live, everybody says, what's going on? Like today, I dropped a video, and everybody was like, where the heck is Jay? All right, so do we know for sure what time Stephan STERNS got home? More than likely, yeah, we do know. Stephan STERNS got there around 8:30, and Maddie got dropped off around that time. So they dropped Maddie off around 8:30. Between 8:30 and 9 is when Maddie got dropped off by the aunt, I believe, one of the family members. And Stephan STERNS was already there waiting for her we're going to say between 8:30 and 9. And then Jenn Soto got home at 10:30, sent Maddie to take a shower. And by 11, she sent her to bed with Stephan STERNS. I don't know what happened in between all of that, but we do know the times now. Okay. And according to who? According to paperwork and coming in and out of the building, and who dropped Maddie off. So according to family that dropped Maddie off, Stephan STERNS that was there. They have the paperwork, and they have documentation at what time. It's roughly around that time. There's nothing hidden in between those lines there. She actually was working and did get off around that time and sent them directly to bed.
And she showed it on Sunday night when she went to bed. She was so happy. So, you know, she had the best day.
Liar.
You know, there was no moment in that evening from when she got home from the party that she had her phone or had the laptop. She went straight to getting ready and went to bed. So I know she didn't have any conversations with anyone. She didn't make plans with anyone. I didn't see any of that.
Of course, you know all.
You
know everything.
Spent the whole.
I just don't know. It seems like I think she's lying here, guys. I have no way of truly knowing, but I think she's lying there. I think she's fluffing. I think she's adding information, just like she said when she was talking about her and basically Stephan dropping the child off, which we know is not true. I feel like she's just adding fluff information to make it seem more credible, the narrative she's trying to put forward.
And she is lying. We know that Strategic now. I think Strategic hadn't talked to some of the family members. I told you before it even came out that Stephan STERNS was not at the birthday party. I corrected myself. I used Court TV, and I used their balloon that showed Stephan STERNS. And then a family member reached out and said Stephan STERNS wasn't there. So I corrected myself, and we now know Stephan STERNS wasn't there. Eve, according to their story, and family members collaborating or corroborating when they dropped Maddie off, Stephan STERNS already being there. So the timestamps of the cars coming in and out, it's not just their story. All right. I'm so confused. She allowed him to kill her, or she was just protecting him, which is worse. Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. But we do think that she has a bigger role than we actually think.
I want to go ahead to a highlighted comment. Mallory Beaver says Maddie was upset after her party because nobody was there and didn't get gifts/money from her mom. So that's a lie. She wasn't even there. 13 is huge. There's nothing that would keep me from my daughter's 13. And yes, that's 100% accurate. Maddie was upset. I remember watching that and reading that from articles and watching that on YouTube from other true crimers. She was upset. She was mad that not that many people showed up. Absolutely. She expected more of her friends to come. She expected the friends that did show up to bring better gifts. And she was pissed off with her mother as well for the reasons that Mallory said. So 1000%. So now, well, she's going to come with the lackluster gifts that she has. So, you know, once again, guess what? My experience shows, not to toot my own horn. We like to be humble here. I'm sorry. Don't want to come off like that. But I just made a judgment based off of her actions that I did not believe that last statement. And Mallory's sharp eyes and sharp ears, rather, validated what I said by reminding me of facts that I'd known from watching other videos. This is deception. This is a lie. Why is it deception? Why is it a lie? Because we know that Maddie was not happy. So why would Maddie do what mommy is saying she's doing? Come home and be happy about her gifts and show you her gifts, and she's so tired she just went straight to bed, but she showed us the gifts and she was so happy. That's a lie. Why is it a lie? Because we know she was not happy. We know she was not happy. She wasn't going to come home and show you gifts she was not satisfied with. She wasn't satisfied with any of the gifts that she received at her party. And she damn sure was not happy with you because you didn't even give her a gift. You didn't give her any money. You gave her nothing that she expected that would have made her happy. You wasn't there for her 13th birthday, her first year being an actual teenager. Before that, she was a preteen. I'm gonna start doing these lives without this Invisalign. There's certain vowels and consonants I can't say with this thing in my mouth. It's crazy. I learned a lesson today. Take them out, do your live, put them back in.
Yeah, take them out, put them back. Take them out.
So she's lying to us because we already had the facts. You're lying. She didn't come show you the gifts. She was pissed off with you because you're a terrible mother.
She went straight to getting ready and went to bed. So I know when she went to bed, she was so happy. So, she had the best day.
She had the best day.
Liar.
I just,
He's just laughing.
There was no moment in that evening from when she got home from the party that she had her phone or had the laptop. She went straight to getting ready and went to bed. So I know she didn't have any conversations with anyone. She didn't make plans with anyone. I didn't see any of that.
So she spent the whole Sunday celebrating her 13th birthday. Was her 13th birthday on that Sunday, or that was just like the time you guys were celebrating?
That was the time we were celebrating. Her birthday was on Thursday, the 22nd.
Okay,
she just turned 13.
But that's just so heartbreaking to be celebrating her 13th birthday, and then the very next day, that's the last you've seen of her.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
I mean, where do you go now? Are you going to go out there and search or look, or what are you sticking by the phone? Are you?
That's a good question. What are you going to do? According to Stephan STERNS, they did not go out searching and looking.
And according to the interview, they were already heavily looking at those two demons there. So you hear those questions that she's asking. Jen's not even, and now Pieces is barking. So just ignore her because she just wants to play, and I can't play right now. She wants to play with Bowie, so I'm going to put Bowie down. She's a multi-poo, by the way. Mwah. Okay, go play. All right. Anyway, yeah, bunch of liars, and we know by the questions that they were looking at these two people already. Listen to those questions. If someone asked me that question that she just asked, I'd say, what are you asking me that question right now? I'd be first sobbing and then saying, what are you asking me? I wouldn't take it like she is because she's lying.
He stayed home while the family went out there and pounded the bushes. That's the exact terminology that Stephan STERNS says in our breakdown of his detective interview. Make sure you go check that out. It's got a lot of views on it. A lot of people appreciate that video. If you haven't watched it, you need to go get that information. The family was pounding the bushes while we stayed home. Now, in the comment section, somebody said, well, they said it with authority.
All right, folks. And Eve, you're amazing. You should really go back and look at my playlist. I broke it down by ex-roommate Madeline Soto and Jenn Soto. She slept at home that night. She slept at home every night. She never slept anywhere else ever. So I love you. Thank you. I want to get through this interview. If people can try to help answer her in chat. Yeah, I tried. I have a Maltipoo and 2 Yorkies, and my Bichon Frise just passed away. Those are the ashes I showed you at the beginning. So, all right, let's keep going. Jen's a narcissist and a piece of shit potato. All right. Sorry, Mom.
Authority, and I'm not picking on them, but you shouldn't say things with authority because every single police department has different policies. They said it like they're supposed to stay home and the family's supposed to go out and look and you're supposed to stay home and stay at the phones. No, that's not true. They don't not every single police agency tells the parents to stay home.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Will be.
Now, maybe the way the comment was framed was like that person may have been law enforcement. We kind of talk the same. There's certain way that we express ourselves, and you can tell when somebody's either military or law enforcement. Sometimes the military and law enforcement is one and the same. You can't tell the difference, but you can tell they had that kind of law and order training. And maybe there was a cop. If that's what they do in your police department, no problem. That's their policy. That's what they feel is right in those situations. Cool. But not every police agency does that. Tells you to stay home and not go look for your kid. Who knows where your kid is at better than you? You know where the friends are. You know where the hangouts are. You know that they like to go to the park in the back area with the monkey bars, and they like to sit in the middle, and you can't even tell that somebody's sitting there unless you go up close. You can't explain that to a cop, and they'll understand what you're saying. You're the one who knows that. So yes, you go out there. And for something like a 13-year-old, who most 13-year-olds will have a key to the house, if you're out there searching and the kid comes home, okay, you'll see them when they come home. And in this day and age where we have cell phones and you could basically go mobile and still be connected with people and be able to reach people, if the child needs to call you, they'll call you. You don't have to be home to wait for that call. Some police departments, I assume, had that policy because back in the days, we all had landline telephones. So if the kid did call you and they were in distress, maybe they got away from the attacker and they hit a payphone and they're like, hello, or they called, collect call. Remember back in those days, the operator calls, they're like, hey, this is a collect call. Will you accept it? Yeah, you had to stay home. Well, this is not 1985, man. This is 2024.
No. He's so
mad. You don't need to stay home to man the landline. And if you do have a landline, you could just call forward those calls to your cell phone. So I disagree.
Exactly.
Most police agencies aren't telling parents to stay home, contrary to what that commenter said. Most parents would be out there looking for their child and utilizing the personal knowledge that they have of their child to search places that other people won't think about.
Hey, I'm 40, can be 45.
Because that's a
47.
connection we have with parents without children. We have a connection nobody else shares. And we need that knowledge base out there in the field trying to find this child if she's a runaway.
Which they know she's not a runaway by now. They said that. They don't think she could even make find her way home from the school. Her school was a 15-minute drive in traffic. She was going to a different district, folks, because it was a better district. Evil lady, thank you. I celebrate birthday month, so thank you for happy birthday next week. Every July I celebrate the whole month. We go out swimming and it's summertime, so we're all out doing things. But thank you so much. Chloe Yorkie, 10 pounds. Everybody's reminiscing and talking about their dogs now. I love it. I know a lot of Leos. All right. Yeah, it's not 1985. There's no reason for her to be sitting there, but she didn't want to be out searching because both her and Stephan STERNS are lazy pieces of rotten potato, and they knew better. They knew where she was. We know Stephan for sure knew where she was. So why would they go search? Why would he go search? And she said it best. Now,
before we get back into this, Anatolia made a comment earlier, said that Beryl is barreling towards them. I don't know where you're at, Anatolia, but yes, we will pray for you. We hope that you'll be fine. We hope that everybody who's in the Gulf, who's going to experience Beryl, will be safe and will, definitely not incur any damages to their property, etc. So everybody in the chat, please pray for all of our brothers and sisters, our fellow Americans who are down in the South and will have to deal with this storm. All right, let's keep it moving. Yeah, definitely. My prayers go out to you. And once again, please hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button, support the channel. Hit the like button, and support the channel. Let's keep going.
What are you doing?
I'm staying at home, staying by the phone, hoping she just appears. I know my entire family is out looking. They've all spread a bunch of flyers. I've had people contact me that they've gone to the international airport to spread flyers, to Amtrak, to Greyhound, just any way that if someone's taken her and they're trying to take her, just to show her face, just to make sure,
listen, this just seems so disgusting to me. Like, I'm not going to assume somebody kidnapped my kid if I don't have any evidence of it. I'm just going to ask that my child comes home safely. I'm going to ask people to make sure that they're looking out to see if they see my child. Without any evidence, she's basically saying the kid was kidnapped. Now, what's that going to do, guys? That is the ultimate trail throw off.
She is.
For law enforcement. If mommy believes that the child has been kidnapped, that spreads out law enforcement well beyond the jurisdiction of where they're at. I think it's Kissimmee or whatever.
Kissimmee.
I mean, they're literally like, the search could be tri-state at this point. The search could be international at this point.
Exactly.
So by her saying, I think she was kidnapped, she's literally hurting the investigation because she's spreading law enforcement even further out when we know eventually that this is a local investigation. It's not a multi-state investigation. It's not an international investigation. She's talking about international airports. She's talking about her child being trafficked out of the country, basically. Who does that help? It doesn't help Maddie. It helps Stephan STERNS, the guy right behind her, because it makes police have to work harder chasing a bad lead. It's very disturbing stuff, man. This lady is disturbing. Big shout out to JoJo for Show, who gifted one Strategic Guys Show membership. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And that membership was gifted to Daniel Williams. So I hope you enjoyed the membership, Daniel Williams.
No wonder you guys think this is live with Mr. Strategic. Everybody on my channel is so kind and going to Strategics. Jojo for Show is one of our mods. Adam Drives Helen is one of our members. That's a loyal member. So that's awesome. Thank you guys for showing him love. He's rebranding his channel right now, and we're all helping out each other.
So what we're going to do, guys, remember I revamped the show, so we're going to be getting new membership stuff and all that stuff.
Yep.
Starting next week when we start doing lives, not all the time, but for a few lives, if I have time. Because sometimes I do a live and I got to skate. Got to get out of here, got to go to work, got to go do other things. But when we have time, which is going to be often, because I want to make sure you guys get value for your membership. I want to make sure you're not you're just not supporting my show.
All right, we'll make sure we go over there. Everybody subscribe. You guys seem like you've already subscribed. Hopefully you became a member.
When they confronted her with
let's go a little bit farther.
Not all. Don't want to stereotype anybody. We're all made unique and different. I apologize.
Don't apologize about
She
her.
still didn't want to believe it. She still did not want to believe it. I wonder what black magic that man has standing behind her that could blind this lady to this abuse to the point where even when she's confronted by the evidence, she refuses to believe it. It took multiple pictures for the mother to finally say, oh my God, yeah, that's him. And that's my daughter. And I had no idea. Multiple pictures. For the mothers who are in the chat right now, how many pictures would you need?
One.
How many pictures for all the mothers in the chat right now? How many pictures would you need before you're willing to fight for your daughter? Fight for your child?
None.
It's a tough question, but it's a good question. All right, big shout out to Jojo for Show. They're now a member of the Strategic Guys show. I appreciate you.
Jojo.
And big shout out to Mallory Beavers, who's also a New Jack member to the Strategic Guys show. I appreciate you guys. And New Jack, for you guys who don't know, comes from my time when I worked as a correction officer in New York State Department of Corrections Community Supervision. A New Jack is what they call a new correction officer. New Jack. So that's a throwback to my corrections days. I've been in law enforcement my entire adult life. And I've worked on almost every level of law enforcement. And I haven't worked on a federal level, but I've brought federal cases with the feds. When I was a sex crimes investigator for the Department of Corrections Community Supervision, I did the first sex crimes civil rights case with the Southern District of New York, Justice Department, Southern District of New York, got the conviction. First one in New York State history. First one in New York State history.
Nothing.
First one in New York State history. Let's keep going.
Good job,
being taken
buddy.
against her will.
Love
And you mentioned ADHD. Was there anything else maybe mentally going on or that you knew of?
She does suffer from anxiety, and once upon a time she was diagnosed with autism. We had her
reevaluated, dumb potato.
Reevaluated. Okay. We had her reevaluated a few months ago, actually, and they told us no, she didn't have autism, but she did have some autistic traits. She did have ADHD, some autistic traits, but not autism. So I'm not sure where to leave with that because one doctor said she did and one doctor saying she doesn't, and I don't know. She's just in the middle, I guess, because she does have some tendencies, but socially she's pretty great.
Yeah, socially she's pretty great. With Stephan STERNS, when you hand her over, that was not necessary for her to bring up the autism. As we know on a personal level, she had no characteristics of the autism that they speak about coming from somebody that lived with them. I don't believe that she had autism. I believe that there was probably depression and other things going on that they diagnosed because they didn't know that she was being assaulted in that way for the last 5 years. So they gave a label, but when she also says, actually, I actually took her back and had her she can't even think of the word, dumb potato. Dumb conniving potato.
So I'm not sure.
And with the video that you were able to see whenever your boyfriend dropped her off, where was that? Which video? Was it a surveillance camera?
It was a surveillance camera from the church.
And listen, I didn't jump into this because we've covered this 1,000 times. I just definitely don't believe that, first of all right, what parent, I have autistic family members.
Exactly.
In my family, very close to me. My nephew is autistic. Most handsome little boy on the planet, man. I swear to God, his mother could put him into modeling. Super handsome little boy. He's like a little baby, man. He's such a little cute little boy. But what parent would want their child would cling on to their child being autistic? I'm pretty sure, my sister would not have wanted her child to be autistic. Not that she had a choice. It is what it is. And you love your child and you treat your child the best you could treat them. You know, you give them the best life you could give them. But this woman is like using that as a crutch when so many families every year have children with disabilities and have to deal with the challenges that come with that. It's not easy. My sister is the best parent I know simply because she's parenting a special needs child.
You know, I think they're using that diagnosis. Who says their diagnosis at all? The reason they're saying that is to make people think that she's not as smart. She doesn't know how to get home. They're doing a lot of victim blaming. So to throw the police off on a different path. They didn't think that Stephan Sterns was going to get caught up with the flat tire and that somebody was going to call it in and see him and find her so quickly. They thought they had time. Stephan Sterns called his dad over to help him out. He probably would have took off. Jenn would have been at home playing the grieving mother, and Stephan Sterns would have went back home per usual. And then Maddie's body would have decomposed. I hate to be so harsh, but it's just what it is. Maddie's body would have decomposed. They would have lost a lot of evidence. They would have been able to clean up the condo better than they did. The reason they went to the hotel was because the police took Stephan Sterns' phone, and then they went, actually, I don't know if they had taken his phone yet. I think they took his phone and were analyzing it at the time. They must have, because Stephan Sterns' dad had to get a hold of him to come over there and save baby boy. So that's why they went to a hotel. So if everything would have worked out and nobody would have seen Stephan Sterns having that flat tire, he would have went back to his parents and she would have continued acting like nothing. And then they would have found Maddie's body highly decomposed, and it would have just been a lot different scenario than it is now.
It's much easier for me to parent my children that they don't have that disability. But my sister has to work even harder as a parent because her child does have that disability. She's super mom. So if your daughter is normal and functional, but we know that she's experiencing trauma, why would you constantly say that she has autism when you know she doesn't? You just said that the expert said she didn't have autism. You know, why would you want her to be ADHD? Why would you want her on medication? Why would you want to constantly make this child into a victim when she's not a victim? She's just a person that needs help. She needs to get away from the person who would eventually be her murderer. It's very sad. It's very disgusting. Too. Before I go forward any further, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to more members. You guys are awesome, man.
All right, I'm gonna go a little bit past that because those are his members
with special needs, and she's one of those heroes that's doing it. So let me continue her comment. She says she's now 27. God bless you. And she's been raised and been raising her since age 10.
All right, we'll go a little bit further.
Which one is it, Jen? Which one is it?
All right, next video.
Not in law enforcement.
Oh, I think that's
we're about to wrap up the show, but I want to show you guys something special from my past to just give myself a little bit of credibility.
Okay, get this.
When we come on YouTube, I will not tell you what law enforcement agency I work for, not because I have a problem with it. I don't care. You know, I work for the government. You know, my information is out there. I'm a public employee. It is what it is. But the rules and regulation of my department is that I cannot tell you because then you can construe my words as me being as the views of my department. So all I can tell you is that I'm in law enforcement and I work in the state of New York, right? And I'm good. Then as a private citizen, I can say whatever I want, you know, and do what I do, all right, and do this show. So that's why I don't tell you what law enforcement agency I work for now, what police agency I work for now. But I do tell you about my previous agencies because I no longer work for them. So I can tell you about my experience there. I can't talk about any active cases, but 95% of those cases have been closed. So I can talk about them. And they've been adjudicated. I can talk about them. And I can talk about my service because, once again, I'm no longer working for them. So I'm going to share with you a video of a press conference on one of the big cases that I did.
Okay, so I'm not going to play that. I am going to tell you, though, that before I even brought him on here the first time, I knew what his credibility was, and I saw his videos. I talked to him. We talked on the phone. I knew he was rebranding himself, but I do have one last video, and this is where the tide turned on this video when they start talking about it. This is actually, they came out late. They always do. This was yesterday, and I was really surprised to hear Court TV saying this. I don't know where the tides turned on this one, but let's listen to this as we start to wrap up. Pimp Potato Head, thank you guys all so much for all the gifts, all the memberships, all the cash apps, everything that you guys have done for me today. I appreciate it so very much.
Crime jail emails between accused killer Stephan Sterns and his family indicate that they think that.
All right, now the reason I'm playing this is because the new evidence that they have from that, they're talking about where the mom blames Jenn Soto, and the tides are seeming to turn with what they think about Jenn Soto. I don't know why. Bree, hi Jay, hi everyone. What's up? All right, listen to this. It's weird.
Someone else was involved in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Stearns is charged with murdering and sexually abusing Madeline, who was the daughter of his girlfriend, Jennifer Soto. Now, the state attorney's office released a 64-page document of email correspondence between Stearns and someone who appears to be his mother. In an email dated June 25th, Stearns writes, quote, there was still perhaps a slim hope for my situation. I maintain hope that I might be able to come home once this whole nasty business has reached its end. To which his mother replies, quote, we all know, and the name is redacted here, we all know, was heavily involved in this. And I am disgusted that she is free and you are not, when this is not all your fault. You need.
Real quick before we go, New York baby boomer strategic did a DNA breakdown, and I'm going to do my own with the paperwork I have. I can't use his because it's too graphic. And as you know, I work with and speak with people that advocate for Maddie and the family, and it's just way too graphic. He's a police officer, and so the things he says, he can say, and he uses a lot of words that I can't use, and I don't want the family to hear me saying those words about Maddie, but I can break down the DNA for you with the paperwork I have without using harsh words. So I am going to do that for you without the harshness behind it, which I commend him for doing that as an officer, but I can't do that. I can't do that because I don't want the family to see that and hear me saying things like that and re-victimize them.
Need to think about yourself more and her less. She sure isn't thinking of you and how she can help you right now. All right, so question now. Are the walls closing in on Jenn Soto? Does this change anything? We know she's still being investigated by police, hasn't been charged up to this point. Let's bring in our guest. Still with me, the Director of Prosecution Projects at Florida International University, former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson.
All right, thank you, Catherine Fascino. I appreciate it so much. More than you know, this is where the tides are turning on court TV, and I'm wondering why they had freaking Gray on there last week. So I'm wondering why they're changing the narrative. Yeah, good call on the DNA report. Yeah, it's just too harsh. I tried. I was going to do that collaboration, and I couldn't. I couldn't get past the words. My daughter is autistic, and I don't use it all. Exactly. I never told my son that he has ADHD, and I never told them that they wanted to test him for autism. I never told him that because I didn't want him to think or to gain sympathy or think, I might be autistic, because kids do that. Kids will do that in school or make fun of somebody or even think about that. He's not autistic, but I didn't even want him to know. I threw the paperwork away. I denied the test because he's not. And it was just one thing to check off the list of Kaiser. And you're right. I didn't want any of that. So I threw it away and I never told him about it. All right. And he's a beautiful, handsome, smart, amazing man.
And want to welcome in criminal defense attorney and former district attorney Matthew Mangino, and forensic death investigator, professor at Jacksonville State University, and the host of the Body Bags podcast, Joseph Scott Morgan. Good morning to you all. Jennifer Soto, will she be charged? Want to get your thoughts on this. Matthew Mangino, our former DA, let me start with you, please.
Well, these emails appear to be maybe self-serving. This is an exchange between, Stearns and his mother. They indicate that somebody else is involved. They don't completely say, hey, you're not at fault. Somebody may share in responsibility here. But don't forget, there's videotape from his camera of Stearns sexually assaulting Soto. So, it's not as though he has no responsibility here. But the police have investigated this matter and put a lot of work into this, and I think if Jenn Soto was going to be charged, she would have already been charged in this case.
Okay, that's a fair point, Matthew. Thank you for that. And we really don't even know the details of how Madeline died, the laws in Florida, her age as a child. There's a lot of questions about that. And Professor Joe, I want to go to you next on this point, please. When we think about the
This is the first guy on court TV that has said that ever. Everybody else has said they're putting a case together. They're going to arrest Jenn Soto. I don't know if this guy's a defense attorney. I don't know if I missed that or what his narrative is, but nobody else has said that, and their narrative is changing a bit. It's only been 4 months. I'm a little concerned that they're thinking that way, but it doesn't matter because they also thought Stephan STERNS was at the birthday party. Completely wrong. They also have a report that says that strangulation was the COD, which we don't know because how do we know? That's speculative.
Possibilities of how. I'm curious if you had the same thought as I did, that I immediately wondered if her death occurred during the course of some type of sexual assault.
Yeah, and that's certainly a possibility. And in any case like this,
she does it.
I
She
can tell
hides
you
out.
that the ME's office will have done a rape kit on her. And not just that, Julie, we have to look back over time. Remember, this familial, if you want to call it that, relationship that was going on inside this domicile has been going on for a long, long time. And so I don't know that you could really have a lot of indications that there was ongoing physical abuse, like where we see things like broken bones many times with children, bruises, this sort of thing. It's hard to really know at this point. The histrionics in this case are going to be so muddled because the situation has gone on for so long. Did he fly into a rage at that moment in time and take her life? And I think that when all is said and done and it is revealed specifically what was done to this child, many things will come to light and we'll see how horrific this is.
Most definitely, Professor Joe. Children, as we all know, deserve to be protected. And I think just what boils my blood is this was happening under mom's roof. You know, he's living with mom and then mom lies for him. We know that when talking about the drop off at school and all of that, she wasn't honest. So I have so much suspicion for her. And then how about his mother defending him and wanting to implicate
clickbaity. Yeah, that is a word. There's a lot of clickbaity stuff. I try not to do that. I try to say exactly what I'm going to put on there so you know exactly what I'm doing. Earlier I put the wrong thumbnail on what I was doing, but it was only because I was busy and I messed up my video. But yeah, clickbaity is a word. Marilyn McRae. It's my word. A child will feel different enough without telling them exactly. And so I never did. I threw that thing away and never said anything. And love that kid. He was here the other day. He always comes over while I'm streaming and he gives me kisses and I just love him. He's going to be 25.
Jenn Soto in the email, or I should say it seems to be his mother. We don't know for sure because it's redacted, but I mean, who else would love him in that way but a mother? Melba Pearson, last but certainly not least, let me get your thoughts on these emails and what may happen with Jenn Soto, please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what my colleagues have said. I think that the investigation's ongoing, but if there was any evidence to link to the mother, she would have been arrested with a swiftness. So I don't see that unless there's new evidence that comes to light. I don't see that this letter is more than wishful thinking on the part of purportedly a mother who does not want to accept that her son is a pedophile.
Exactly, Melba.
All the evidence hasn't come to light. We don't even have all the documents yet. So we don't know what's coming to light. Nothing's happened. Nothing's moved in court. So I don't know, again, what tides have turned here or if they just need something to talk about on court TV. I'm a little confused, but yeah, the documents haven't come out and it's interesting. I could tell that the newscaster here, I don't know her name, but I could tell she seems a little surprised and it's not what she wants to hear.
Sicko STERNS is what I call him after all of that evidence, as Matthew Mangino referenced. I mean, there was, just a plethora of sick, disgusting evidence that police said they found on his phone showing the abuse of Madeline, photos, videos.
Court TV actually does not have inside information. They just have more money is the thing. They have more money and they can drive down and get the documents. They drove down and got images. I know that. It doesn't mean they have them in hand yet, but no, they don't have inside information whatsoever. They're the same media that us folks are, except we're smaller people and they have more money. That's about it. And sometimes they say things that are not confirmed yet, and they do have sources, but that doesn't mean they're always right. Same take as Corti. Yeah, it is. They just changed their narrative too. Weird.
I mean, it is just unconscionable what happened to this precious child. And now he's complaining about his living conditions in jail. I want to show you all another portion of an email. He writes, quote, "The mat is flat, has very little cushion left. The cell is small, filthy, has some spots on the wall that appear to be bloody fingerprints. Blah, blah, blah." He's complaining about his situation. We've had complaints from him before, haven't we? Take a listen.
Blah, blah, blah.
The temperature was down. So the executive was like a degree or two lower than it should be. Wow. Couldn't regulate and sleeping on bare metal. The first night I was on a concrete floor with a roll toilet paper for a pillow and nothing else. Waiting for a blanket or a pad to sleep on for about 2 days. I think they're supposed to do something.
That's loud. Sorry.
Oh, you wonder what the sheriff's deputy is really thinking. I wonder if he's thinking, I'm having a hard time feeling sorry for this guy based on the allegations that we know. Let's bring back in our power panel. Matthew Mangino, back to you. Your thoughts, please.
Well, this sounds, a bit like a spoiled little boy. He's exchanging emails with his mother that, I hope to come home soon. The place is not very nice. No kidding. You're in jail. You've been charged with sexual assault and murder of a 13-year-old. You're not going to have the best accommodations. You're going to have.
And I do want you to know, I do love Vinny from Court TV. He's always passionate about what he does, and it doesn't mean that his sources are always correct. My sources aren't always correct, and I'll go back and correct myself. So I just don't like the narrative, and many people are right when they say Jenn held all the cards. Everything was in her hands. She paid the apartment. It was her daughter. She's the one that worked. She provided Stephan STERNS with food. She's the one that grocery shopped. Everything was in her hands. And even in this picture right here, when you see the body cam, she's in control in this freaking body cam. So I don't know what's happening. I wish I did. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we will find out soon. Patience, my friends.
Have reasonable accommodations for the circumstances, but no, you're not going to have a fluffy pillow. They're not going to come in and scrub the walls every day, and it's going to be noisy because there are a lot of other people who committed crimes who are sitting in the same facility that you are. So, it's sour grapes from a guy who just doesn't get it, who's a reprehensible, at least we know from videotape, sexual assault of a child and complaining about his living conditions. No sympathy here.
I'm with you, Matthew. No sympathy. Professor Joe, no sympathy. Is that what you say as well?
Yeah, insert sarcasm. He's a real Count of Monte Cristo, isn't he? Having to live out this existence that he currently finds himself in. I think that it goes to a bigger idea that many people, and I'll say that very, very broadly here, have given him a lot of latitude throughout his life, perhaps, that he thinks that he's entitled to certain things. And I'll leave it at that.
Like what you're saying there, Professor Joe. We'll have to leave it there for time's sake, but great comments from you all as per usual. Professor, we got to say goodbye to you. Thank you kindly for being on the show this morning.
And we're going to say bye to all of you very soon here as I start to wrap this up. I want to let you know they are releasing more documents, folks. They have 1,500 documents ready to go. We've received 896 of the 1,500 documents, which leaves 4 pages to 900 and then another 100. So 604 pages that we have not gotten. Now, when I say we, social media, the people that have paid for these documents are the docket and plunder. And I know Gray Hughes is in on that. So there's a circle of people that pay for the documents. They all pitch in because they're really expensive. Now they've paid for these documents already. And that's how I got the 896 page documents, thanks to the docket and plunder. Unfortunately, Gray is part of that. Like I said, unfortunately, because I don't care how much you donate and what things that you do, it gives you no right to treat people like they're less than you, or when they talk to you, or when you talk to them the way that you talk to them, or to guilt people into giving you, like Susan Travers gifting 5 guilty of crime memberships. Thank you. You have no right, no matter what you do, to treat people that way and to talk down to them and make them feel stupid. So that's my beef with GHI. And yeah, thank you, Sweetie Brooker. Another good show, strategic. and Deception Detective. That was a new video that just came out. So go over there to Deception Detective's channel, hit that like button. And once he gets 50,000, he'll take a look at it and do another video on that topic. Sabrina, happy birthday, Jay. I sent you a couple dollars to your Cash App. Thank you. I'll send you a sticker back or a heart or whatever they let me do. I appreciate all of you. You're so amazing. I'm back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing our third part of, I think it's going to be 11-part series of Lauren DeMolo. Dumolo. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Lauren DeMolo. And we're going to have the lovely, we love him, Paul Dumolo on, and we're going to continue in the series of Complicit. Thank you, everybody, for everything that you've done today. I love you all. I've been here since I came on at 4 o'clock to let you know about the Maddie Memorial being taken down. And then we did a bunch of analyzing, and I still have the DNA to go over. I also want to talk to you guys about Sebastian Rogers this week. There are some actual real updates. So I love each and every single one of you. I hope to see you tomorrow. We really do want to support Paul. He's been searching for his daughter for over 4 years now. And Complicit made a really good podcast, and they're letting us redo it and bring it to life again so we can bring light to Lauren DeMolo. I always want to make sure I pronounce names right as much as I can. So I love you all. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you all. And remember, if you're guilty of crime, you're going to end up on my show. So don't be. Stay home. Stay safe. I love you all. Have a good night. Mwah.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty?